Alrighty, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here. We are live once again. Welcome on in to the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. It is Monday. What the fuck is going on? The chat. What? Okay, hold on. There we go. Jesus. It's 10 p.m. in China. Gotta be in multiple time zones in a nation that large. No. There's only one. How do you only not know there's only one time zone in China? What the fuck? How do you not know that? Call yourself a Central Committee stan. Communism? Yeah, hell yeah, brother. Welcome on in. There's also localizations of time, like dudes aren't eating breakfast at dinner time. And it's not that big of a country. All right, everybody, welcome on in today. We have a lot to talk about. I take a couple days off, and the centrist Democrats try to character assassinate Hassan on Twitter. By the way, can I just say how pathetic it is? They tried to assassinate him on Twitter, bro. No one gives a shit. I think one of the funniest, and it's really them trying to go after Abdul El Sayed. And I have to tell you, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It's literally nothing. No one fucking cares. It didn't affect Hassan at all. I mean, the thing that you could do is you could just go to your Twitch tracker and be like, did Hassan lose 10,000 followers on Twitch? That's how you ask yourself if a scandal is a real scandal. Did Hassan lose 10,000 followers? So just go to the last stream. The last stream, he gained 56. The previous stream before that, he gained 80. Literally absolutely no effect whatsoever. In fact, like honest to God, like it does not matter. It does not matter. He lost 12 on a random on the 21st, which was a random Saturday. Guys, they have no juice. Absolutely none. Like these, like the Twitter space, the centrist Democrats, they've got no fucking motions. No motion whatsoever. Regular people, why did I search YouTube? Regular people, they don't care. He's gained 20,000 subscribers in the last 30 days. He had 36 million views in February. He had 44 million the last 30 days, which I think will be his best ever, second best ever month. No, yeah, second best ever month, last 30 days. Literally, they have no juice whatsoever. They have none. I've never seen any less juice. They've got nothing. I mean, it's incredible. -12 was bad internet in Cuba. I mean, who gives a fuck? It happens. Mike, will you be able to comment on Avi Lewis winning the NDP leadership on a platform of affordability and anti-Zionism? Plus, they got rid of their liberal executive committee based. Yeah, we can probably talk about Canada a bit. So I just wanted to give people kind of like a reality check. Like, this shit does not matter at all. They are not affecting us at all. They are fucking losers. They're nothing. They're dog shit. They're irrelevant. Oh my God, apparently March is my best ever month. I didn't even know. Like, I don't think I got a single big raid this entire month. Like, actually zero major raids. Like, I'm sure if you raided me this month, I'm sorry, but I like, this growth is 100% organic. God damn, that's fun. What I love about this channel is there's no cope. There's literally no cope that anybody can make about my growth. It's just I deserve it. Ginger Alamode and Panda Terrestrial, thank you for the 5 gifties. And thank you everybody for resubscribing. Welcome back. Okay, the one thing that does suck is my sub count is dipping. That does kind of suck. We got 6,000 subs this month, which, you know, that's a good number. I'm not saying it's not a good number. It's a great number. The harder he works, the luckier he gets. Yeah, so true. I mean, it's not just that. Like, listen, there's plenty of people who work their asses off and don't succeed, right? So I want you to understand that I understand how incredibly fortunate I am, and I appreciate all of you. So thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the last 3 months, I haven't gotten a raid. I haven't gotten a big raid in the last 3 months. That's pretty crazy. Speaking of irrelevant, Anna seems to piss off AOC. Anna's right-wing turn has been something to see. Here's kind of how I feel about it. AOC needs to spend less time mauling over Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian or whatever, and more time supporting people that have her back. And that doesn't mean just like Democrat shill media. It means going on Hassan again. It means going on my stream. Literally. At this point, there's no excuse to not go on my stream. Like at this point, there is no excuse. And a lot of people are doing that. And that is good. Like I think it's bad to spend your time punching down, but in reality, you should be doing more. LOL, I've been enjoying the podcast. Oh yeah. Chat. On Saturday, the Reaction Podcast has released the Hassan episode. The Hassanabi Podcast has released episode 3. Nationalist. Hassanabi. So I think the one thing that, and we have some highlights with, if you're like, oh, Mike, this was a great episode. I love it. It was amazing. Sending it to my friends and family. That's good. If you enjoyed the Asmongold episode with Hassan, wait till you hear, I think the Liv Agar episode of Clavicular is even funnier. When you go called out anti-BLM Polish people, Mayo boys, I lost my shit. Yeah, I know. It's very funny. A lot of the internet, especially the anti-left internet, is non-Americans. That's one of those things that I've recently learned. It's like a lot of the people who are like anti-left wing are not American. They are like some sort of American puppet wannabe foreigners. And it's like, oh, like the more and more, it's so funny. And it makes sense, right? Like the left wing in America is a threat to the like puppet people of the world. Like if you're a puppet or you're a wannabe puppet, if the left in America wins and we spend our money on healthcare instead of empire, that means you're going to lose your subsidy. I saw DGGers pissing their pants in the comments. They obviously don't know your views align, huh? I think the person who pisses their pants the most is the digital nomad from Australia. I think he's the one pissing his pants the most. The funniest thing for me, can I take a moment to laugh at people? I have been fought by the biggest right-wingers in the entire world. And somebody with 90,000 subscribers thinks they're going to take me down. It's like, bruh, I'm going to take you down with the power of the anti-Bernie, anti-Hassan left. It's like that ultra hard mode. We need a soundboard for that? Okay, hold on. Let me hop into the soundboard. Wild. Scare and a Bad Empanada fan.
It feels like the left is unstoppable.
No, it was this. This is what I wanted. So we have episode 3 for Asmongold out. Make sure you go hit the like button. The BE and DGG stands are united in Freda's comments trying to smear you. It's really pathetic. Oh, are they? I never noticed. I'll speak to Freda, you know. The thing is, he's probably never, I mean, here's the thing. Like, they're not even in the comments. Like, the podcast is right here. Like, they're not even in the comments. No motion. I feel like the audio level is very quiet. Wish it was a fair bit higher. Turning it up to the max on YouTube isn't quite enough. I have to turn up my sound system quite a lot. This is Hassan Piker, a neo-Ottoman Turkish nationalist. I don't know. It seems pretty loud to me. You're targeting Freda on his channel. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, guys, the top comment is from this channel.
The double airstrike is kind of sick, yeah.
Every time, dude. Okay, hold on. Let me see this. It's interesting how many people are willing to set aside their beliefs for audience overlap opportunities. Bad Empanada, 91 likes. Guys, Bad Empanada, 91 likes. I like this guy, but God, how many comment sections in the under? You guys are talking to Saud. I'm personally offended about, like... You don't believe in anything. Yeah, he traveled to Cuba to hand out aid for fun. You're not a leftist. Wait, he was attacking Hassan for doing the same thing. What are you talking about? Wait, the Bad Empanada defenders are, he went to Cuba to hand out aid? Guys, you have literal one. You have one collabing with the worst people, Freda. Okay, let's go to this guy. Warhammer miniatures? Country music? I mean, there might be some bangers in here.
Building your model can really be a drag, especially when you're eager to get them ready.
I'm sorry, chat. Anyway, all you have to do is anytime there's somebody who's annoying, you just click on their fucking YouTube and see what they are, and you'll be completely relaxed. Bad Empanada was in the comments of your video talking to the Cuban embassy, was asking why you didn't go to Cuba. Totally disingenuous. Guys, I was posted by Cuba's embassy. Cuba's embassy likes me. I don't know what else to say. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. Like, are you gonna listen to the Australian sex pest who lives in Argentina? Why aren't you living in? Why'd you move from Australia to Argentina? And why aren't you involved in anything there? Or are you gonna listen to the Cuban embassy about who's supporting Cuba more? I don't know what else to say. At a certain point, like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say? Are we shitting on random gamers now? No. 40K, I don't know. 40K kind of seems like it has the worst fandom of any hobby. Sex Pest. Oh, I'm sorry. As far as I know, you're right. I don't have. I'm sorry. I want to withdraw that. I'm sorry. I don't know. I was thinking of Destiny when I said that. I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about Bad Empanada. I mashed them both into an amalgam in my head. Okay. I don't know anything about Bad Empanada being a sex pest. Okay. I don't know anything about that. Okay. 40K seems fun, but again, the fandom seems terrible. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of like weird Nazi basement dweller like energy, unfortunately. Some people understand the I know, I get that it's satire, but at a certain point you have to throw in the towel about the fandom, right? If your satire is like causing actual unironic Nazis to like you, maybe the satire isn't hitting, you know? KMT and CPC will work together for peaceful development across the Taiwan Strait. The shitty chairperson of the KMT will visit the Chinese mainland and meet with President Xi in April. What's really funny about Taiwan is that the politics are like center-left party is like the most pro-American, whereas the KMT is like a bunch of like formerly fascist conservatives who now want to bow down to Daddy China because Daddy China is powerful. So it's like all these guys who are like vicious anti-communists during the revolution. Now that China's powerful, their desire to bow down to powerful Daddy is now causing them to be pro-reunification. It's truly, the human mind is amazing. De-dollarization is proceeding briskly. Yeah, I know. This is absolutely insane. Imagine citing David Frum as your source. He cited David Frum being extremely wrong by asking Claude in case he want a sense of desperation. My latest J Insider, the Hassan Piker barrage with social media extremism meets political reality. Okay, I just want to explain something to you, chat. All right, we're going to have to talk about this because it's too funny. And then we're going to talk about other shit, but this is where all the funny is. Centrist Democrats join attack centrist Democrats and Zionists attack Hassan Piker. No effect. That's the only way to explain it. Like, this is probably one of the funniest things I've seen. Like, a whole weekend I was just laughing my ass off and getting into these comment sections and just and it's all the same people. It's all the same anti-left people, and it just falls completely flat. And it's so funny when they all like jump together and try to like post, and it doesn't have any effect whatsoever. All the Biden dead enders, all the dumbest pieces of shit. He absorbs the attacks and makes them more prominent because people just go and watch us and they realize we're right. Like, that's all that happens is people go and watch us and they go, oh, they were right about everything. Oh, I agree with them. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, the centrist Democrats aren't fighting the Republicans. So it doesn't work. It does not work. And it's so funny. And the more they talk about Hassan, the better I do as well, which is, guys, do you see this? By the way, this is the end of the month. It's March 30th. This is my best ever month. March of 2026, for some reason, is my best ever month. Why? Probably because we're invading Iran. Okay, like, so more people are interested in politics again. But you get my point? That yet again, they have no effect. The only month that I haven't been doing about 4K average was when I got banned. I got banned for criticizing Benjamin Netanyahu. Remember when those people tried to cancel me? Remember when people tried to say I was anti-Semitic? And I lost 192 followers, which is 0.1% of my following. I lost 0.1% of my following, guys. The most annoying bad faith losers like Cinemarxism and Gremlo, were gone. So like it's like, oh wait, Gremlo still follows me. Cinemarxism. Oh, that's so funny. What's the drama with Gremlo again? Oh, he was just trying to get me canceled, calling me an anti-Semite. Because I criticized Benjamin Netanyahu's conception of Jewish identity being linked with Israel, settler colonial project of Israel. I criticized Benjamin Netanyahu 2 years ago. So they thought they had a clip where they could call me an anti-Semite and it would get me canceled. I tabled at my DSA chapter at the local No Kings protest. It got a decent amount of people to sign up. Hell yeah. Oh, and then they attacked Vio as well. They were attacking Vio over emotes to try to like harass me. When you got banned, Greblo spent days trashing you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was my worst month of the last year because I got banned too. So I got, you know, but you could kind of, anyway, how's he doing? How's Gremlo doing? Let's take a look at Gremlo's. By the way, if you still watch Gremlo at this point, we're not going to be friends. Just so you know. Just so you know. Oh my God, with the war in Iran, that's it, bro? Didn't even recover. If you still watch Gremlo, you and I are not cool. Just so you know. That's very clear. Gremlo or Cinemarxism. No, I mean, I'm not going to ban you if you do, but don't ever come to me for anything. Don't ask for my help on anything. Who am I supposed to watch before 7 a.m.? I don't know. There's a bunch of cool people. Duly noted. Bye. Okay. Here, let me just help you. There you go. I made the decision for you. Now you can't chat. Anyone who tries to backstab anyone who tries to backstab a progressive with Israel smears is not welcome. And I honestly, if you disagree with me, I don't want you here. Because you're not safe for me or Hassan or anyone else. It's really just that simple. Come on, Mike. Hassan, Gremlo didn't give a shit about your demonic Zionist. He wanted an excuse to supplant you as the top non-Hassan. I mean, yeah, that's what it's really about. But I'm new to Twitch. I thought Gremlo was a leftist. I mean, he puts on the appearance of being a leftist. But in reality, he doesn't. He's a grifter. He just wants to. He's perfectly comfortable with like stabbing people in the back in order to grow himself. And it's like, it's one of those things that I'm never going to forget or forgive, you know, because when Zionists are targeting you for deplatforming and then people join in, I will never forget or forgive that ever. There's really nothing he could do. So it is what it is. So it is what it is. Gremlo is a Vashite. He used to be, but then Vosh isn't very popular. So he decided to try to orbit Hassan. That's true of a lot of people. A lot of people used to try to orbit Destiny and Vosh on Twitch. Many of the small leftist streamers, and they're small for a reason, because I have no interest in helping people that are Voshites at the end of the day. So it is what it is. It's all Destiny's fault. I mean, it's not all Destiny's fault. Like, you have to understand that Destiny is really just a point where certain types of personality disorders can congregate, right? It's like if you're sociopathic or you're a sociopath or you're a sadist, you're interested in Destiny. Like, you will be attracted to that, and it creates that kind of community. So if somebody is like interested in that for the long term, I mark that down as a note of like, oh, that person's fucking, because I was friendly with Destiny for 3 days. Think about that. How was the progressive event I went to? It was fine. He was getting over 1.2K. Now he's back down to 800. 1/3 of his audience left because of this bullshit. Hope it was worth it. I mean, I'm just glad we don't have any overlap anymore. You know, again, as I've said, like, part of the reason why I grow is because I don't mind shedding people that are against what I'm trying to do, right? Like, if I'm trying to create a strong left-wing, anti-imperialist, anti-war, but also interested in electoral politics left. I want a left that is principled left-wing, but doesn't discard the opportunity, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity we have to elect left-wing politicians to extract concessions and possibly build towards building the socialist movement in America for the long run, right? So I'm going to do everything. However, I don't want anybody who's going to try to backstab me and call me an anti-Semite. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. So one of his pathetic mods must be lurking in here. Yeah, they're always in here. I mean, somebody said Gremlo, so they probably have that as like a alert on their chatterino or whatever. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure everybody was sure want to make sure that you guys understand that if you fuck with Gremlo, I don't fuck with you. That includes content creators. So make sure you pick your side. Pick your side. I got banned in both their chats for typing in here. Yeah. During your last ban, those guys went from stream to stream to make sure people aware you're problematic. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They did. They tried to boost the Zionist deplatforming attempt. So just wanted to make you guys, I wanted to make you all aware we're not cool. Also, here's your Mallory McMorrow prediction from Friday. You nailed it. Okay, let's check this out. I am so f***ing right. It's absolutely insane. I predicted that she would be the next Fetterman, and then she immediately starts adopting the APAC line that Hassan Piker is anti-Semitic misogynist. All the talking points from the ADL, all the talking points from APAC. I f***ing told you. Okay, can I say something about Dave Weigel? He's a fucking weirdo. What's going on with Dave Weigel? Like, he seems kind of like he hates women a little bit. Because he's like always kind of like snide toward AOC. Now he's doing this weird quote tweet against Jen Welsh. Like, what the fuck's going on with this guy? It's fucking weird. Like, it seems like he also hates the left. Like, he's been kind of boosting, like, I would call it edgermentum style takes, which is like, AOC will never be the president. Guys, have you heard of Andy Bashir and Gretchen Whitmer? It's like that kind of shit. Like, AOC, she has a problematic, she voted president on the Iron Dome in 2020. Guys, AOC is the fucking worst. And then it's like, guys, have you ever heard of this really cool person called Mallory McMorrow? I think one of the things that a lot of people learn on Twitter is that if you do like an anti-AOC post, there are bots that bot up your likes. Now, for me personally, most of my tweets get thousands of likes. And I don't say that because I'm trying to flex. I'm just saying it's a reality, right? Like, not all of them, but a lot of my posts get thousands of likes, you know, 1K here, 1K there, 1K here, 700 here, 800 here. It doesn't really, the ones where I'm talking about Andy Bashir sucking doesn't get boosted, right? In light of Andy Bashir calling the Gaza genocide nothing but a litmus test. Fuck, stupid autocorrect. God, I hate typing on my phone. But it's just like, who gives a shit? You know? What the establishment is doing now to slander Hassan the Hun is a preview of how they plan to attack AOC or any other left-wing candidate in 2028 that is a critic of Israel at all. Everyone who denounces the Gaza genocide should join in solidarity now. Like, this is the reality. Effie for Congress, by the way, went on Hassan Piker's show and they attacked her. But guess what? All that did is boosted her profile. I want to show you something. She posted about Hassan Piker, 4K likes. Let's go to her other posts. 65. 32, 28, 70, 32. That's why people engage with this shit. Nina Turner post, 29 likes. Abolish ICE, 14 likes. Did I see the Drewski versus Erica Kirk thing? K-File responded to me. Okay, hold on. His Reddit account was literally under a username and email he used for years. Okay. How did they know his username and email that he used for years? How'd they know that? Yeah, of course he used it under his name, a username. How'd they know that? How'd they know that? Most insane crosstabs in history just dropped. That's because this person is kind of dumb. This is just because there's no responses. This person doesn't know how polls work. If you have like 3 responses or 4 responses or 30 responses, that's not statistically significant. So the smaller the population, the less, the smaller the number of responses within a specific subgroup, the less reliable it is. You need to do what's called super sampling or oversampling to get a statistically reliable measurement of a subgroup. So think about the standard of deviation of a top line poll. Let's say it's like Plattner versus Mills, right? And you have 500 responses. That means your standard of deviation is probably going to be somewhere around 4.9 or something. To get us, hold on. There's like an equation. I can't remember the equation. It's like margin. Hold on, let me pull it up. Margin of error calculator. Okay. What you do is you'll be like population size. What's the population of Maine? Of Maine voters. There are 897,000. Okay. Sample size 500. Confidence level 95. Calculate. Calculate. Did I not do something correct? Hello? Okay, apparently this calculator doesn't work. Let's move on to another one. All right, here we go. This one works. So if you have 600, if you get 600 random voters in Maine, you have a margin of error of 4%. So let's do how many trans or non-binary people are there in Maine? How many non-binary people in Maine? Because there's 4,000. Let's assume we get 20. Let's assume we get 10. Let's assume we get 5. You get my point? So plus or minus 44%. So whenever you see something like this is somebody trying to bait your engagement who knows you don't know anything about polling. Because they're like, why do non-binary people hate Graham Plattner? Why do my fellow MBs gonna do us like that? See, it succeeded, right? What the fuck's going on with the non-binary? The answer is it's not properly measured. It says 9 non-binary or other. Okay, 9. Margin of error is 33%. That means plus or minus 33%. That's assuming 4,000 non-binary people in the state of Maine. You understand? So that's not a statistically significant number of responses. So you can't, a margin of error that large basically means that it's worthless. Now we understand polling. Yay! 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 How many responses? Does anyone have the actual data on this poll? Like how many people? Okay, so we'll do it together. Okay, so how many responses? They had an N of 530. 530, and the population was just short of 900,000 active registered voters in Maine. Plus, so the margin of error is 4%, technically 4.2%. So when people are like, Mike, your poll only has 500 responses, that's not representative. Yes, it absolutely is. Yes, it absolutely fucking is. As long as it is properly weighted and proper, you know, they are trying to make sure they get as close to a random sampling as possible. It is a representative sample. That's just like it is. It has statistical value. And honestly, you get statistical value at about like 350. Right? If you really want to be cheap. Most people, if you don't want to be cheap, you get 2,000. It says 9 of 1,075, but the population size is not the population size of the poll. The population size is the population of the surveyed population. Does that make sense? What does confidence level? So it's like, think of a curve, a standard deviation curve, right? A bell curve. You want enough responses so that you are 95% sure that the real answer falls within the margin of error. Okay? You know what I mean? So like, let's say that I poll voters. I want to be 95% sure that the actual response will fall within the margin of error. That's what that means. So 19 times out of 20, the polling will be within the margin of error. Does that make sense? So the margin of error changes. So, you know, the confidence level and the margin of error are related, because the lower the confidence, then the lower the margin of error is going to be, because you have more, you're okay with more of the results falling outside of it. But we don't like that. We want the results to be representative, so we keep a high confidence level, right? It's like if we go to like say 350, right? But then I lower my confidence level, the margin of error is going to go down. See that? Because I'm comfortable with responses falling outside of it. But if I raise the standard of error, then the margin of error goes up. That makes sense? So that's how polling goes. This is very basic shit. Very, very basic shit. One of the things you're going to find out is some of the most prominent people who talk about politics every day don't know this. This is basic shit. And if you're me, you try not to go insane. Because to me, it's embarrassing to talk about this shit every day and not know the basics. But for many people, it doesn't seem like they care. Like most of the time, it seems like people don't give a shit, that they don't even know the very, very, very basic shit about how this stuff works. And then they have really strong opinions, and they'll call you a moron, and they don't understand it. And it's crazy. You got the Gen X white woman block.
Going to start happening. It's already happening. If you don't know who he is, and some of you don't, this is Hassan Piker. And he is unabashedly anti-corruption, and he's on the left, except the left hates him. The Democratic establishment, the centrists, absolutely hate him because he calls out the corruption from the Democratic Party as much as he calls out the corruption from the Republican Party. And he's gaining and he's so popular with young men. He's the blue pill pipeline that the Democrats need to pull in young, vulnerable men so they don't get caught up and swallowed up by the red pill content. I mean, it's already bad enough that you had Charlie Kirk and then you got Ben Shapiro and you've got Nick Fuentes, and the list goes on, and we don't have.
Okay, so this is why they hate Hassan. This is why they hate Hassan. This is the Barbaras and the Debras. I call them Dianes. You have your Karens and you have your Dianes, okay? Karens are white women who use their power for evil, and Dianes are white women who use their power for good, okay? He says the Barbaras and the Debras, same thing, okay? The Dianes love Hassan, and that's why the centrist Democrats are having a meltdown. Because he is getting, the Dianes are going, oh my God, he's so hot, he's so handsome, and he's kind. Hassan is what average people want. He is what women and people that come from marginalized spaces want men that have privilege to be, which is stand up for what's right. And so when you see someone who has a lot of popularity among young men, and yet he's telling them good things, normal people look at that and go, oh my God, he's great. That's why the Democratic establishment hates him, because they serve their donors and they want to cut that off. They want you to believe that somebody like Hassan is not viable with young men. They want you to believe that we have to throw women under the bus. We have to throw trans people under the bus. We have to throw immigrants under the bus. We have to throw black people. That's what they want you to believe. And Hassan is saying no. And his popularity proves his point. If Hassan is one of the most popular political commentators in the world, doesn't it prove that we don't have to compromise? We don't have to throw people under the bus? That's what it is. This journalist agrees with your analysis. Polls show that the next generation of Democrats is much more open to socialist and anti-Zionist politics. Pressuring candidates not to appear on Piker's show won't reverse that trend.
Hardly anybody on the left, but we do have him, and he's killing it. He's killing it. And a lot of people on the left don't like him because he speaks to his base, which are primarily young men. So whatever. If you listen to what he has to say, point by point by point, what is wrong with this country, why both parties are corrupt, how they're corrupt, and what kind of economic and social programs and platforms we need to fix this country. If you're a Democrat, you're going to agree with him on every single point, unless you are a Zionist. Then you're going to hate him, okay? But I'm giving you this warning right now because he is being viciously attacked. Why? He's getting plugged in electorally. He's endorsing progressives who are running. He is doing travel circuits with people like Bernie Sanders, energizing people to get out and vote for progressives and to vote for candidates who are going to give you affordable health care and not send our tax dollars to other countries that start with an I. And you know who's attacking him? The Democratic establishment. That multi-million-dollar pool of privileged millionaires who consult with all the centrist Democratic candidates and politicians to telling them to feed us, whisper sweet nothings to us so that once we elect them, we get nothing from them. They are out and they are attacking him. So I'm just giving you the heads up. This is Hassan Piker. You're going to be seeing a lot more of him, and you might be confused because of what you're hearing. But question the source. Do your own research. Listen to him before you fall for the propaganda designed to destroy progressives.
I'm going to send this to Hassan right now. I think this is going to actually make him like fucking tear up, bro. I'm going to like send this to him. I don't like to over message people because I'm just like that. I'm very much like withdrawn. I don't like to blather at people through text. How the fuck are stocks rising with a headline like this? What the fuck are the markets doing right now? They're delusional. Dow rises 300 points after Trump says U.S. in serious talks to end the operation in Iran. It's called delusion. He does this every Monday. Every Monday he says, "Oh, we're about ready to have peace," and then nothing happens for the entire week. And then so there's like a rise on Monday, and then everything falls again, and then it really starts to eat shit on Friday, and then Monday he like right before the markets open, he's like, oh yeah, we're about to have peace. Looks like Iran's Speaker of Parliament called it. Trump said the truth 2 hours before the markets open. The United States of America is in new serious discussions with a new and more reasonable regime to end our military operations in Iran. Great progress has been made, but for if any reason a deal is not shortly reached, which it probably will be, and if the Hormuz Strait is not immediately open for business, we will conclude our lovely stay in Iran by blowing up and completely obliterating all of their electric generating plants, oil wells, and Karg Island, and possibly all desalinization plants, which we will have purposely not yet touched. This will be in retribution for our many soldiers and others that Iran has butchered and killed over the old regime's 47-year reign of terror. Thank you for your... Okay, so we're about to have peace, but I'm going to attack civilian infrastructure and water systems. I'm going to do war crimes, but we're just about to have peace. Do you think we're going to send the Marines on the grinder on Friday? Yes. We're guys, I posted it. The invasion of some Iranian territory is happening. I posted it. It's happening. Mike predicts Trump's Iran invasion. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Like, they're still sailing the Marine amphibious assault ships to Iran. Trump tells the New York Post, you will find out soon whether asked about his response to the Iranian attack on oil facilities in Israel. Trump tells the New York Post the U.S. will find out in about a week whether Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammed Baghir Galhabif is willing to work with Washington. Another week is what it takes for the second amphibious assault ship to get there. I believe the Boxer is on its way. The Tripoli is in Diego Garcia. This is from 4 days ago. Satellite images show U.S. warship carrying 2,200 Marines heading to Middle East. Showed the on Wednesday, satellite imagery from the Chinese company Planet Labs showed the USS warship USS Tripoli anchored near Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Honestly, Chad, I should like subscribe to some Chinese satellite, and like the 260-meter vessel was identified as what analysts described as its final stop before entering the operational zone of U.S. Central Command. Welcome to the party that we started 47 years ago. No kings. This is the people of Iran, and we approve this message. Hashtag no kings. That's a good post. That's a funny post. All right. I mean, it is what it is. So the centrist Democrats tried to go after Hassan. They have absolutely no effect. This is the thing that you need to understand. They have absolutely no effect on him whatsoever. No effect on him whatsoever. USS sailors and Marines aboard the USS Tripoli arrived in U.S. Central Command Area Responsibility March 27th. The America-class amphibious assault ship serves as the flagship for the Tripoli Amphibious Ready Group, 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit composed of 3,500 sailors and Marines in addition to transport and strike fighter aircraft, as well as amphibious assault and tactical assets. Okay, see. So I see some, I don't see any Cobras. Do you, chat? Or is this one right here? I can't really tell. I see Ospreys. You can't make this up. Iran's trading advice to U.S. investors worked. On 4:12 p.m. Eastern Sunday, Iran's Speaker of the Parliament said pre-market news is a reverse indicator. If they dump the market, then go long. S&P futures opened nearly 1% lower and fell just 30 points away from correction territory. By 11 p.m. Eastern, S&P futures had reversed all losses and turned green. By then, 7:25 Eastern today, President Trump posted that great progress is being made on Iran peace talks. Now, the S&P 500 is trading 100 points above its low seen hours ago, adding $900 billion in market cap. We are in the most unusual times in market history. Yeah, the U.S. market is trading like a penny stock. Donald Trump has turned the American economy into a penny stock. Satellite imaging subscription is $10K for a year. I wonder if Hassan would go would pay for like 90% of it. I would put 1,000 down. If Hassan will put 9K down. I can't do 10K though. That's too much. That's crazy. Come on, Hassan. Let's get satellite images together. You're rich. 1 month closer to the Order of Romeo.
You know, honestly, the wet socks is probably the worst part of this whole thing.
Okay, let's talk about it. We'll come back to the Hassan thing. I want to do a longer, better section on the centrist Democrats attacking Hassan. I don't even think this makes any sense, guys. Like, it legitimately doesn't make any sense. If they go for Karg, they have to sail the entire Persian Gulf, probably getting peppered with fucking drones, amphibious, drone ships. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe the Iranians will be sitting there in delusion and they won't do anything. I mean, that is possible. You have to understand from their perspective, They don't want to have to fight off the Americans. That's a bummer, bro. So maybe they will sit there and let the Marines maneuver themselves into position without attacking. That seems very plausible to me. We got more than 70 people to sign up for our DSA, and many people were asking about our no flock campaign. We were pressuring our mayor to cancel the contracts. Hell yeah.
My cat ate my rubber band that I put on my mic, so I will not be using my mic for this video. RIP Bandy here. Anyway, how do you actually take over an island with a bunch of Marines? We all love cool videos of dudes hitting the beach, but a jarhead getting
this is called an uncontested training landing. How can you tell? Everybody's walking upright. You know what it looks like when people are actually getting shot at? They don't walk upright. They have one hand on the ground, and they do this kind of low run.
Sand in his underwear is only about step 1000 of about 1 billion if your goal is to take over an island. But what are those other steps? Well, unintelligible grunting, the like and subscribe button, and let's talk about it. Blowing up stuff with bombs is fun and cool and all, but if you actually want to claim a chunk of sand for old Uncle Sam, or perhaps maybe, I don't know, an island that controls a massive portion of Iran's oil economy, you're gonna have to put boots on the ground. And those boots are probably gonna be worn by graduates of America's collective special education programs, the United States Marine Corps. Taking an island actively defended by an enemy force,
you can't tell the difference between somebody insulting the Marines or being a Marine,
is one of the deadliest and most complicated missions the entire United States military trains to conduct. There are roughly 1 bajillion moving parts, a bajillion ways those parts can go wrong, and one small screw-up at any level could put the entire operation at risk. In a very loose sense, when it comes to this, there are 4 steps. Prepping the island, movement to the beach, assaulting the island, and then moving on to the next objective. I'll be covering how to actually do each of these, and at the end compare to how recent large-scale exercises have actually played out and where things typically go wrong. So first, who is actually responsible for taking over an island? Who is doing the actual shooting? That would be a Marine Expeditionary Unit, or MEU. This unit of about 2,200 jarheads contains infantry battalions, aviation units, organic logistic people, and a command element. The ships they're riding into the fight are organized into amphibious ready groups, or ARGs. I've heard it pronounced as ARG, which is, funny because pirates. But speaking of men trying to secure booty, a brief detour. Now, I talk about a lot of crazy military stuff on this channel, and a lot of the video. The whole point of the MEU-ARG thing is that it allows the US to put troops on coastlines without needing things like ports or support from forces already ashore. They are self-contained invasion forces that I would assume reach levels of homoeroticism that would have you excommunicated from your church. And that was fancy talk for they be doing gay stuff on them boats. One of the hardest parts of taking over an island is getting to the island itself, and that is done over the water, obviously, or via some kind of aircraft. But the methods of transportation used and where depend a lot on the island and the objectives that they're looking at. This is where I would normally say something like hitting a target that's slowly approaching your beachhead is like shooting fish in a barrel. Except with modern weaponry and drones, it's probably easier than trying to shoot a fish in a barrel. So because of that, before anyone even starts of thinking to load up to start attacking, the Navy and Marines conduct shaping fires. When you hear the word shaping in a military context, it just means that you're kind of just doing side quests to make the main quest easier. When I say the Navy and Marines are doing shaping fires, that means that they're doing a lot of stuff other than just physically shooting at things far away. I mean, shaping fires absolutely does include a lot of that, like hitting military and defensive targets with missiles or bombs, but it also means electronic warfare, deception tactics, or even psychological operations. Sometimes dropping leaflets over the enemy to say they have small peeners can be the difference between victory and defeat. If I ever have a son that plays sports, that's going to be my tactic at his middle school soccer games. But see, shaping fires, like you would assume, soften up the island's defenses. It takes out things that would shoot at Marines, take down aircraft, or help defenders organize their fight like communication nodes. I won't be going into too much depth on this part of the fight because it would be its own video, but the effectiveness of it determines how the next
guy seems weird. Yeah, he seems like a Marine.
Step is performed, the actual assault onto the island. But obviously, you gotta get there first, so let's start with the landing zone itself. You can't just drop off a bunch of Marines anywhere you want, unfortunately. The soil composition has to be strong enough to support heavy equipment and vehicles, the tidal zone has to be the perfect depth and shape, and you need to be able to easily spread out and push deeper into an island from the point that you're landing. I promise you there is very little interest in repeating the Pointe du Hoc landing of World War II. It's probably no surprise, but that means there are only a few points on any given island that you can actually conduct a full-scale beach landing. Assuming your enemy does in fact have 2 brain cells not actively fighting for 3rd place, they're going to already know where those points are and put a lot of defenses and obstacles on them.
That was a video of those guys loading their magazines with blanks.
That's another hard fact about doing this kind of mission. Amphibious beach landings make your movements very predictable. It doesn't require Sun Tzu to figure out where Marines would land and where they would probably go from there based on the terrain. But how do we know where to land? Well, you might think that we can just whip up Google Maps, draw some arrows, and call it a day. But of course, it ain't that simple. Satellite imagery or already existing maps would allow for planners to figure out general areas they could go, but that doesn't tell us things like how deep the water is, what's underneath it, if the ground itself can support a landing, or if defenders had gone in and placed obstacles like mines everywhere. You also have to keep in mind how tide changes the picture as well. Certain areas are good 24/7, some during high tide, and some only during low tide. That complicates things a lot, because it's already obvious where a bunch of Marines would land, but now an enemy force would probably be able to guess when they would land also. While everyone likes to romanticize the classic first wave on the beach thing, the first ones to actually get to the objective are the ones going to find those places that were identified on a map to actually see if Marines could land there. This is going to involve sending in recon assets, usually divers, engineers, or underwater drones, in order to determine if certain areas, at certain times, are viable places to actually land. Part of that involves literally taking soil samples to determine if it can withstand the heavy weight and not just have everyone sink into the beach in their trucks. The hardest part of this is, of course, ignoring all the cool shells you find while testing nearby sand. And that is proof the United States military is ready to take any level of sacrifice in order to accomplish the mission. But it's only after they figure out those spots on land that the actual planning for the invasion can begin. Kinda sounds like a bit of a death trap, right? Landing on a defended beach at predictable places at predictable times? Well, it would if that was just step 1 of 1, and we all just call it a day and go on full sending it. Traditionally speaking, the hardest and most dangerous part of any amphibious landing is actually seizing and controlling a foothold on the ground. Those first few waves are essentially cut off from any support. If you run out of ammo and you're still knee-deep in water, you are fucked in ways that only a person like your mother could understand. When we think of beach landings, we typically think of massive World War II-style human waves Call of Duty stuff. But that's not really how Marines train to seize islands today. The real, quote, first wave is going to involve a lot of aircraft. The Marine Corps strategy for taking an island involves conducting air inserts of infantry at key points of terrain ahead of the beach. This could be major road intersections, a particularly high hilltop with good vantage points, or small nearby buildings. And this serves 2 purposes. 1, it forces the enemy to conduct 2 fights at once, defending the beach and counterattacking against those points of key terrain. This splits the bad guys up and means fewer rounds getting fired at the dudes trying to get on shore. The second purpose is that it isolates the beach. If, for example, you control all the major roadways leading to the shore, an enemy force isn't going to be able to push reinforcements forward to defend it. Isolating the beach is especially important because of how Marines physically actually get there. For those unlucky enough to not be the ones riding in on an Osprey in order to get shellacked on some hilltop, they're going to be riding around primarily in one of 2 ways: in the back hull of an ACV or on the bed of an LCAC. Now, there are other things like small rib boats or LCUs, and we will be talking about them briefly, but those aren't going to be carrying your primary fighting force in those opening bits of the fight. One of the main fighting platforms the Marines will be riding in, as I just mentioned, is the ACV, or Amphibious Combat Vehicle. Very descriptive name there. These are the newer troop carriers the Marines have been using that took the job over from the older AAV. They carry fewer passengers than the AAVs they replaced, but are reportedly much more popular with the Marines as an overall platform. Currently, these don't have a lot of firepower, either just having a machine gun or automatic grenade launcher on top. And that puts them in a little bit of a pickle if they have to take out hardened things like bunkers, buildings, or vehicles. A version of the vehicle is being made with a 30mm cannon on top, but those are still being manufactured and haven't been received by the Marine Corps yet. The heaviest firepower the Marines can still bring to the fight with them is the old LAV-25. It's not exactly the latest and greatest thing on the block, but it's still in the, it's fine, I guess, category of amphibious armor. The common thing in both the ACV and the LAV, however, is that they don't have a lot of protection. Obviously, when you're required to be able to swim in the ocean like a boat, you can't just load up on metal side plating and expect to move at any respectable speed. If your goal isn't for your body to be part of an impromptu artificial reef, you're going to want to keep the beach sectioned off so that heavier equipment that could blow up ACVs or LAVs can't be brought into the fight. Next on the list of vehicles is the Landing Craft Air Cushion, or LCAC. LCACs are going to be carrying non-amphibious vehicles, heavier equipment, additional personnel, and other things you need to start building up a beachhead.
Look, it's the
Now, the
LCAC.
order of vehicles to land isn't always sequential, which is a fancy word.
The thing about these weapons, like the LCAC, these amphibious troop carriers, is they have extremely thin armor and cannot receive any kind of damage. So as long as the beach is secure, they'll be fine. Now, if any like drones come in and hit anything, they're all gonna die and sink because these have very light armor. Why do they have light armor? Because they're amphibious. So, you know, if 5,000 first-person drones go out during the landing, they're not going to be able to swat them all down. And there's going to be a lot of dead Marines. Now, maybe they don't have that capability. Maybe that's too high of a number. I don't know. But this is an extremely risky operation, and it could work. I want you guys to understand something. I don't want you to sit there and cope because you're only setting yourself up for embarrassment. The United States military gets $1 trillion a year, okay? There's a lot of very intelligent people that are trying to make the United States military as capable as it can be. If you cannot accept this reality, that is a problem with the way that you're thinking, and you're going to have your worldview shaken. It's important that you have an adult mentality and you understand reality as it actually exists. This is one of the problems I have with the rest of the left. A lot of the left are very childish in that they have a child's understanding of the world, and they don't really think about the complexity of the systems that are supporting the military. I'm showing you this shit so you guys get a sense of the scale of which we're talking. This isn't just guys running around with guns. All right. This is hundreds of billions of dollars and millions of people's effort, full-time job effort to make this happen. Do not underestimate that. Now, I'm also not telling you to underestimate the Iranians, but they are certainly the underdogs in this situation. And when we're talking about a conventional force versus a conventional force, the United States of America has the premier conventional force outside of China. So you need to rein in your sense that the United States is going to take some easy humiliation and be defeated conventionally. That is not the way that things are probably going to go. Now, it certainly could fail. I'm not saying it's impossible for it to fail, but the default expectation is the United States Marines are going to be able to take whatever immediate objective they push for. It is the long-term grinding resistance that's going to make us pay. It's not going to be a conventional defeat, most likely. Doesn't mean it can happen. Like, for example, if enough drones get through, they could sink a major U.S. warship. They could inflict a lot of casualties on the Marines, but it doesn't necessarily mean the Marines are not going to accomplish their objective, whatever that is, for the immediate short term. So keep that in mind. Keep your expectations and your analysis sane.
Always sequential, which is a fancy word I learned in college that means one thing happens and then another thing happens. Because sometimes LCACs are launched with everything else at once, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes the ACVs will float to shore by themselves, and sometimes they'll ride in on the LCACs. And that's pretty much the rule of everything I'm talking about today. In Army person language, I would say that everything they do is MET-TC dependent. However, in Marine Corps speak, they would probably say something akin to a grunt and a shrug. But same goes for the air assets. Sometimes the Marines will fly in on helicopters if they need to carry heavier stuff or if an LZ is pretty close. or speed just isn't that important at that moment. Sometimes Marines will fly in on Ospreys if the target is farther away, needs to get hit faster, or if all they need to do is carry a few grunts in the back. Insert overused joke about how Ospreys are death traps, blah, 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 blah. But one thing to really take away from this is that the beach landing operation isn't just a simple sequence of events. It's all very flexible inside of a loose framework. It's not as simple as this vehicle goes here and then this vehicle goes here. And probably any Marine watching this right now is saying, no shit, Sherlock, but I was an Army guy and we like sequential checklists. See, everything that the Navy and the Marines throw at an island has to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that's reflected in everything from the rifles that Marines carry to how theater-level logistics are organized. The very nature of island fighting means that you have to remain flexible at all levels, and that includes the strategy you use to take it. In a perfect world, the guys hitting the beach will not have to deal with actively fighting any defenders once they land, just like how they were supposed to at Omaha Beach. But the Marines can fight if they need to. If enemy personnel is not expected at a landing zone, everything will probably get loaded onto LCACs or other landing craft to hit the beach due to them being the fastest way to move a lot of stuff from ship to shore. If enemy resistance is expected, ACVs on their own are able to start fighting as soon as they hit the ground, and use things like smoke screens and the curvature of the earth to try to stay a little more hidden. ACVs can only go about 9 miles per hour in the water on a good day, and are super vulnerable while they do that. Putting them on an LCAC that can almost go 50 miles per hour on the water is very much preferred if speed is the priority. Personally, you could not pay me to get in an amphibious armored vehicle while it's floating in the ocean though. That is up there with getting my face peeled off by cartel members on the waves.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine getting into this shit and then sailing towards Iran's coast in 2026? Just think about that. And you're looking at this and you're like, oh, Mike, it's a metal box. They're protected. No, this shit is aluminum, bro. This shit is paper thin, bro. This makes the Striker look well protected, bro. What was this called again? What's the landing craft called again? Fuck. Marine Troop Carrier. Is it the Marine Personnel Carrier? Okay, I think this is it, right? And this is the updated one, right? This is the new one. Oh, this will serve. What is the one that got... Okay, is this one? The Amphibious Combat Vehicle is a program initiated by the U.S. Marine Corps Service to procure an amphibious assault vehicle for the U.S. Marine Corps to supplement and ultimately replace the aging... Ah, here we go. The Amphibious Assault Vehicle. So they just started to replace it. So do people know if the Tripoli has the wheeled one or does it have this one, the old one? The ACV is now, are all of the AAVs replaced? Does the AAV P7A1 is the current amphibious troop transport of the United States Marine Corps? So it's saying this is the current one. Armor is 45 millimeters. So the ACV is supplementing and will ultimately replace it, but has it actually replaced it? I get we're watching a video. As of March 2023, the objective is to procure 632 vehicles. Wait, phase 1 will require connectors? The first phase will consist of several hundred commercial off-the-shelf wheeled armored vehicles, each costing $3 to $4.5 million. It will rely on connectors to get from ship to shore, like the landing craft air cushion and joint high-speed vessel. Relying on connectors to bring the vehicle to beach allows the sea base to be located 100 miles from enemy threats. The less ambitious Phase 1 ACV will be fielded in the interim, while research and development will begin to refine the features of the Phase 2 ACV. So they're not even amphibious? Okay, December 2020, the Marine Corps BAE Systems announced the commitments of full rate production with an initial batch of 36, expected to grow to 72 in early 2021, with an option of 80 vehicles per year thereafter. Variants in production and service. Okay, thank God. So this is the ACVC, the command and control variant. That's what you're seeing in the video. I don't think they have these. The Tripoli doesn't even have these. They removed the well deck designed to maximize space for the VTOL 5 F-35B. Wait, really? The Tripoli doesn't even have a well deck? So it's just a shitty aircraft carrier? So they're just gonna try to land with Ospreys?
I really don't want to die list. But then deploying on their own opens up an entire strategy of dispersed landings. Instead of everyone just hitting the same spot at once, Marines will make multiple landings at different points at once. and ideally while other Marines somewhere else are also taking other islands too. This basically creates chaos for any kind of defending force, and it makes them split up their assets even more, making their job a lot harder. This is the problem versus dilemma strategy. A bunch of Marines landing at one spot on your island is a problem. A bunch of Marines landing all over your island at once is a dilemma. And that dilemma only has varying degrees of bad options to choose from. Once Marines hit the shore, they might have to do a few things depending on what the day calls for. If there are mines and obstacles, those will need to be reduced. Enemy defenders will need to be pushed out of direct fire range, and sections of the beast need to be prepared for more forces to arrive. Now, an obvious question is, once the physical defenders are pushed off the coast, what are the Marines going to do inevitably about all the drones that are about to hit them? You know, drones, the thing that took all the innocence and fun out of warfare. Well, recently, the Marine Corps has been making the move to designate certain riflemen as anti-drone operator people.
Shoot it with a gun? By hand. World War I style.
This is specifically...
Did they not learn anything from Ukraine? Did they learn nothing from Ukraine? You need specialized anti-drone equipment. You can't shoot it with a rifle or a shotgun. You know how many Russian videos there are of Russian soldiers trying to shoot down FPV drones and failing?
To handle these small FPV and quadcopter types that would probably ruin their day.
This is like a commercial drone that going 5 miles an hour. Like, what the fuck are you saying?
They're doing this by giving them specialized scopes called the Smash 2000 Lima. It is basically a fancy aiming device that tells you where to point your barrel in order to hit a drone, turning something that requires a lucky shot into a target that's just in the still really hard to hit category. This
is the most delusional propaganda I've ever seen in my entire life. They're gonna fucking die. All scopes tell you where to point the thing. Unless it's moving the gun for you, you are fallible.
With new things like DKCs or drone killer cartridges and other methods of low-level electronic warfare will hopefully give the Marine grunts an edge against what would inevitably be their biggest threat during the entire operation. Emphasis on hopefully there. Those things run on hope.
Oh my god. I mean, I think, honestly, Americans seeing the result of drone warfare, unless you've really paid close attention to the Ukraine war like I have, you probably don't understand how stupid this is. The average drone now goes very fast. It has a fiber optic cable, so there's no jamming. It has a long spool of fiber optic wire. It does not get jammed. Some of the drones have AI like targeting, where if they do get jammed, they just take over and they go and kill a person, okay? Drones move very fast. They're not like your little Best Buy quadcopter drone. This is fucking stupid.
Just as much as they run on fancy ballistic maths. See, once the jarheads determine that a foothold has been established on the beach, then they gotta start taking the rest of the island. Additional combat power like troops and equipment will start getting brought in with
This is what a frontline town in Ukraine looks like right now. Do you see these? Looks like spider webs everywhere. Those are fiber optic cables from dead used drones. Because the jamming doesn't work. That's how you stop the jamming. The other thing you could do is you could do relays. That's the other thing. Like, you could have the drones with fiber optic cable tethers, and then that goes to a place that then has a relay. So you don't have to be at the end of the fiber optic cable. You could be somewhere else. Or it could go to a buried location. And that buried location has connections that then go to wherever the drone operator is. So the drones can be pre-positioned with fiber optic cable umbilical cords that are connected to relays. So even if you follow the umbilical cable back, you end up going into the ground. And you're like, well, this is so stupid. It's unbelievable how dumb this is. Holy fuck, we're all gonna die.
heavier ship-to-shore connectors, like additional LCACs or other watercraft like LCUs. This is a critical stage because it connects logistics to ground units without having to rely purely on running back and forth between the ships and the sea, which can take a lot of time and be disrupted by pretty much anything. The first step is going to be reconnecting with the troops sent in first on helicopters at those key points of terrain. Doing this allows those forward deployed guys access to logistics and establishes a cohesive front line on the island. The Marine Corps is currently experimenting with using drones to resupply those isolated pockets of grunts, which would provide a bit more tactical flexibility, but they do eventually need to be connected to the rest of the front. how the rest of the fight's going to go is determined by what specific objective is on that island. If it's something like, I don't know, Karg Island, wiping out all the defenders and holding on to the physical ground itself is the goal. But if it's something like an island hopping campaign, the priority is going to be making the island you just took into a launching point for other ones. Airfields are going to be one of the biggest priorities. Taking one over for yourself allows for a lot of the logistical heavy lifting to be handled either by the Air Force or external naval aviation, meaning you just freed up the ARG and the MEU to focus on the next beach landing. You know, that or go back to the homoerotic stuff they were doing before they kicked off the attack. This exact situation was practiced recently in Talisman Sabre 2025, a large-scale training exercise held off the northern coast of Australia, among other places. U.S. Navy ships positioned themselves in the water just outside of the Shoalwater Bay training area. Once there, the ships launched aircraft and land attack munitions to suppress enemy air defenses and long-range indirect assets like artillery and missile batteries. Not like actually, that was more simulated, at least that part was, although hitting Australia with live tomahawks would not surprise me at this point given how the rest of the year has gone so far. For several of the missions, their focus were remote, unimproved airfields, where tactical lift cargo planes would be able to bring in reinforcements and other stuff. Once air defense assets had been suppressed, vertical lift aircraft were launched from assault ships, while Marines and ACVs and LCACs hit multiple landing points along the shore simultaneously. After pushing through enemy resistance and holding on to the landing strip, the forces reconnected and began hauling in heavy equipment to the airfield via transport planes. A good portion of that cargo were long-range missile assets like HIMARS that began hitting targets nearby and other enemy assets within range to prep for follow-on operations. Strike aircraft and attack helicopters provided persistent air coverage, while nearby naval vessels created an anti-access bubble in order to deter any counterattacks. Obviously, the exercise went swimmingly, at least according to many of the public reports. Giant exercises like this are just as much for public relations as they are for actual training. But certain aspects such as timing, network communication, and drones were all still issues that needed to be dealt with. The US is getting better at using drones on the offense, but counter-UAS is still lacking a good bit. Certain units were confused on where they needed to go or what their responsibilities were at times. However, that has held true for every military unit ever since about 4000 BC. Miscommunication over the sequence of events left certain gaps in air coverage, and that—
I gotta say, like, the Osprey itself is already an extremely dangerous and unstable vehicle. Operating in the context of small drone war, I mean, like, Jesus Christ. We have 0 armor amphibious troop carriers, and we have the Osprey, the Marine killer. I'm like psyoping myself into thinking that the Marines are going to just be defeated in battle, like, because of how incompetent this is. But obviously, the US military is not as incompetent as we oftentimes gets portrayed by the left, okay? This is like a major flaw with the way the left talks about geopolitics. It's like it's similar as the way we just talk about the IDF. The IDF is getting smoked by the Gaza resistance. A lot of IDF soldiers were killed. The Gaza resistance was incredibly brave and incredibly effective for how technologically and militarily behind they are, Israel. But the idea that there is a conventional military defeat taking place is just cope. And we need to like get better than that. We need to be able to look at the world as it actually is without cope and recognize that sometimes the Nazis win battles so that we could better understand how to respond to the reality as it exists rather than the fantasy that we're cultivating in our own brain.
Also delayed some of the HIMARS launches. Logistics was slower than expected, which also caused some delays, and there were a handful of issues with supporting fires not being ready in time to actually be useful. All things considered, not bad. It's a solid strategy, and we've proven, at least in training, that it does work. Would it work on an objective like Karg Island? Yeah, probably. It would be an all-hands-on-deck situation, and we've already been doing shaping fires on it for a hot minute now. The industrial nature of the island would make the actual ground fighting a bit of a nightmare, depending on how determined any defending Iranians would be, and there would undoubtedly be some hangups and mistakes. But this kind of plan would work. And before you get angry at me in the comments, that was a can we statement, not a should we statement. That's a different discussion. Now, I didn't really get a chance to get into the hyper nitty-gritty of beach landings, like the lanes that connectors use to get ashore, or much on the equipment or numbers they use. I plan on covering that kind of stuff in a bit more dedicated video, but I did not want to turn this into a 5-hour slideshow lecture. I know some of you guys would have watched that, but luckily I sleep with my own boss every night, so I only have to do what I have the mental capacity to handle. But be on the lookout for those. And on that note, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.
All I know is the Americans have not fought a conventional military that has the ability to resist since the Vietnam War, and we lost. People get fooled into thinking the U.S. military is ineffective because they see stuff like this. The thing about the U.S. military is, I try to explain this to people. Donald Trump may appear to be stupid, but who do you think, when somebody graduates at the top of their class at Harvard, are they stupid? Like, I'm asking people, like, do you guys think the people that graduate at the top of their classes at Ivy League institutions and the best universities are stupid? Do you think people with PhDs are stupid? Like, I'm honestly asking you guys. Do you think that the people that consistently perform well academically and produce new research and are on the cutting edge of engineering, do you think they're legitimately stupid? Like, I'm literally asking. I mean, I guess what I mean by stupid is they're not capable of affecting their will into the world. They're not capable of offering new insight, whether they're not capable of manipulating public opinion. They're not capable of like engineering new products or new weapons. They're not capable of like affecting the world. Do you think that? Like, because if you do think that, you're fucking nuts, and you've drank the Kool-Aid way too hard. You have drank the Kool-Aid of leftism way too fucking hard if you think that the institutions of this country are just full of dummies. Like, that's gonna cause you to get killed, bro. Like, I'm sorry, like, what? Are you coping? You could say they're evil. You could say they serve bad masters. You could say all the, you know, they're self-interested. All of that is true. That's not the same thing as dumb. Evil is not dumb. That's two different things. Probably the worst way you can analyze the world is if you think the bourgeoisie are stupid. That's like absolutely the worst kind of pop cope I've ever seen. Jesus Christ. You could say they're hubristic. You could say they're arrogant. Yes, absolutely. That's their downfall. But stupid. We're in trouble. A lot of the drones we've seen from Iran are wireless. Have to be to reach Israel. Then again, Israel loves its tech. If they could jam the drones, they would. Because the Shahid drones are probably being programmed with GPS coordinates. So they're probably not being actively piloted. But I'm not, you know, again, I'm not really sure about that. Some of them are manual, but I would assume that many of them have GPS targeting systems. Or it might be a hybrid where they are manually piloted, but if they lose connection, they proceed to the GPS coordinate. Because, and by the way, it is possible to block GPS, just so you guys know, but it's extremely disruptive. People will not like that. You know, it's possible to do jamming of these type of things, but in like over a city, you're basically shutting down that city to do the level of jamming that would be required. Mike, the Nazis refused to look into nuclear weapons because it was Jewish science. The Americans are stuck in the man jets paradigm due to the pilot officer corps reproduction. Oh no, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with that, but that's not the same as being stupid. That's having a bad model of the world. But that being said, you have to understand something. Iran is being bombed. Like, the United States and Israel are flying all the fuck over Iran. I don't think you guys really I think the main gap in knowledge between me and most of the people in chat is the sense of scale. I don't think you guys have a good understanding of the sense of scale of the United States military. I don't think people really have a sense of that. It's like when I say $1 trillion. Do you really understand what that is? Like, many of you do. Not all of you do, though. I think a lot, especially I think if you consider yourself an anarchist, you definitely don't. And, you know, that's kind of, let me see if I could try to figure out a way of explaining it. How many KC-135s are there in the USAF? Okay, there are 400 KC-135s, strato tankers, mid-air refueling planes. 400 of just these. That's just one type of cargo plane. U.S. Air Force cargo planes. I'm just showing you this just so you get a scale. You start to understand. Okay. There are 52 SC5M super galaxies. There are 29 C-12Cs. Okay, that's a light plane. Oh, the Globemaster. There are 222 of these guys. 222. Try to like imagine a flat plane and just place hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. This is one. Imagine hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these stretching out. We got 126 C-130Hs. Hundreds and hundreds. Again, these are just individual variants. Okay? Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these aircrafts. And this is just the Air Force. Hundreds and hundreds. We have 1,400 Blackhawks. We have 510 Chinooks. 500. Are you understanding? Are you starting to get it? These are 200 of these little guys. I mean, it just the scale and the scope of this shit is so large. It's really hard to even process. You could see one of them and go, wow, that's a huge plane. Here's a 747, which is like the largest civilian planes. My God, why is everything suck? Like, look at this shit, man. The scale of the United States military is like something that people have a hard time even processing. Like the single largest global emitter of carbon emissions. Here's the Boneyard.
Did you ever wonder where veteran military aircraft go to retire? Where those old warriors, after decades of service in the skies, find their final resting place? Welcome to Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, home to the AMARG facility. The Air Force Base has played a pivotal role in the storage of military aircraft since the end of World War II, evolving into what is now recognized as the largest aircraft boneyard in the world. Its location in the Arizona desert makes it an ideal site for preserving decommissioned aircraft, thanks to the region's low humidity.
The logic of Americans spend more equals better military is like German knights think they could beat peasants with gunpowder weapons because they spent more resources. The paradigm is fucked. Here's what you don't understand, is that the German knights had gunpowder too. That's what you don't understand. Knights coexisted with gunpowder for hundreds of years.
Minimal annual rainfall of just 11 inches, and hard alkaline soil. At an altitude of 2,550 feet...
This is just the waste. This is just the extras.
The climate and terrain naturally slow the deterioration process, ensuring aircraft remain in suitable condition for a potential cannibalization or reuse. The desert's geology also enables easy movement of aircraft without the need for paved storage areas. Beyond preservation and reuse, Davis-Monthan has also housed historical aircraft destined for museums, including iconic planes like the Enola Gay.
Iconic war crime planes like the Enola Gay.
And Boxcar, the bombers
I was about to ask you guys what's the name of the other plane that dropped a nuke.
Responsible for ending World War II. The base stands as a vital link between the past, present, and future of military aviation. When aircraft arrive at the AMARG facility, they are initially handled by the receiving branch, which meticulously processes each plane. Accompanying the aircraft is a complete record of its service history, including all maintenance actions performed throughout its operational life. Upon arrival, the following steps are taken to prepare the aircraft for storage. All weapons, ejection seat charges, and classified hardware are removed, along with...
Anyway, I didn't want to do a boneyard. I'm just trying to give you guys a sense of the scale, right? Like, the United States military is a fucking boondoggle the likes of which you've never seen. This is why when people say this is why we don't have healthcare, this is why. And what I'm trying to say is you should be aware that the United States military has the ability to kill millions and millions and millions of people, and they will. Look up Google Maps view of Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. That is probably what I should have done from the beginning, because these dumb videos are dumb as fuck. Look at this shit, chat. It just never ends. Look at the houses. And this is just the waste. Ignore this if you already covered this. Traders are gloating that Iran's current speaker called Trump's market pumping to a T. God, this is so funny. It didn't even work, though. Oil is up in the US over $100 a barrel. This is the first time it actually went over $100 a barrel of American prices. We've been looking at European prices, which are up at 112, which is near the peak. And this is with people thinking, the war might probably end. Powell sees inflation outlook in check. No need to hike rates because of oil shock. The moment they have to raise rates, this fucking economy is going to crash. Everything is being held up by a delusion that there's not going to be an oil shortage, that Donald Trump is going to end the war soon, that inflation is going to stay under control. That's what people are operating as if is going to happen. If any of those things don't come true, we're going to have a fucking crash. All right. What else did I want to talk about today? All right. Let's talk about the centrists attacking Hassan because it's too funny. I want to actually do like a segment on it. So the reason why they're attacking Hassan is Mallory McMorrow is being exposed as being pro-Israel, and they're trying to change the subject. That's what's going on. Is Mallory McMorrow is being exposed as pro-Israel, so they're trying to change the subject to Hassan so that they can attack Abdul. Jake Tapper retweeting Jewish Insider citing David Frum asking Claude a question. This is the state of the US media. In fact, okay, so they're trying to say that Hassan only has 33,000 viewers. Why does everybody care? All right. I want you to understand that that may be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my entire life. I want you to understand something, chat. Last Thursday, I had 62,000 views. 62,000 views. Me. Last Thursday. Okay, I was just looking at my thing. I streamed from 7:14 a.m. to 12:08 p.m. I had 62,000 views while I was live. Me. I want you to understand that Hassan probably had at least 10 times that. At least 10 times that. And that's why we were live. The entire prime time of MSNBC gets 900,000 views. Hassan Piker is bigger than MSNBC. And if you look at it, and I'm going to show you something, and it's going to blow your fucking mind. If we go to Social Blade and we go to MS Now, the Comcast supported network of MS Now got 80,000 subscribers. Like, this is their entire YouTube presence. They are spamming videos. All right. That is the level that Hassan is at. If you go onto Hassan's Twitch and you just go to Hassan and you go to his and you go to his past broadcasts, we're talking 800,000 views, 900,000 views, 800,000 views, 900,000 views, 1.2, 1.1, 950, 1.5 million, 1.2 million. You have to understand that this is somebody, an individual guy streaming from his house. And he has he's one of the top streamers worldwide on this entire platform. 3 million followers. MSNBC is a network with billions of dollars of funding. Billions. And Hassan is frequently challenging them bar for bar. They're on every cable news network. Like, they're on every cable news subscription around the entire country. They've got billions of dollars in advertising revenue. If you go to Social Blade on Hassan, so that's just one. I mean, that is the level that we're talking about. Hassan has over 1 billion views on YouTube. 1 billion views on YouTube. That's his side show. That's his side project. I mean, it's just the idea that a single individual, a single commentator is legitimately challenging a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate as far as eyeballs. That's fucking crazy. Okay, they go apparently on Social Blade they use followers for Twitch because that is that is what we would not call the most important metric. Why are they going by followers on Twitch? That's the most botted metric. Bro. Did you talk about the idiot David Frum not understanding how views on the internet work? Right. So live concurrent views are people that are actively sitting their ass and watching the thing right now. That's not the same thing as views. All right? Views are like anybody who clicks on a thing and then clicks off. So when somebody says, oh, there are 35,000 people live concurrent views, that is a hell of a lot different than The total views. Hassan gets millions of views daily. Millions of views daily. And that 35,000 or 40,000 concurrent viewers is not the same 40,000 people that are sitting there for the entire time. You can multiply that by at least 3, if not between 3 and 10 for the number of people that actually go in, unique people. Then you'll start to understand that if MSNBC is getting 900,000 in prime time, Hassan is getting 500,000 in prime time. Sometimes more than that. And that's in a single day. David Frum's YouTube is bigger than Hassan's. I don't know what to tell you. On YouTube, fewer than mine. I'm looking at your Atlantic videos with 50K. You have the advantage of a long career of television and print and are a tremendous thinker. You're worked hard at your craft and it shows. Piker got into a shareable content early and has a different... First of all, he's much bigger than David. Does David Frum have a YouTube? The David Frum Show, which I guess is on the Atlantic. Why some right-wing podcasters are vilifying Winston Churchill is a clip. That has 11,000 views. Could Democrats actually win in Texas? The David Frum Show. With Beto O'Rourke as a guest. Is democracy becoming cringe? 100,000. The Atlantic and the Bulwark. Joint stream. 100,000. Okay, let's go over to Hassan. Taco Trump had it again. 175,000. Unk popped off. 150,000. This is not good. 342,000. What the hell is going on here? 300,000. Wall Street Journal, fuck Hassan Piker, 345,000. Things are going like 380. Okay, so David Frum interviewing major politicians on the Atlantic is getting a third of the views off Hassan's side project that are stream highlights. That's crazy, bro. The Trump versus Canada. And the other thing that you have to understand is that YouTube pushes something like the Atlantic hard in the algorithm. Let's just go to the Atlantics. 1,000 views, 12,000 views, 19,000 views, 8,000 views, 10,000 views, 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 6K views. David Trump's war with Iran and new danger at home. Okay. 300,000 views, 9,000 likes. Pretty good. Let's go on a similar episode. Hezbollah attack in Tel Aviv.
All across the region from Oman.
Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Him just yapping in a stream highlight has more interactions.
Here is the perfect representation of Democrats.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. AOC gets called out. AOC,
I want to
1
tell
million views.
AOC.
Oh, here we go. What's up? What's up?
He loves it.
He does love it.
This morning, she intended to become a prophet.
Oh, it's because
And
it was
she
raining
said-
this morning, and I said God is good.
Even God doesn't want
He's
to
a
be the
pastor.
He's a pastor.
Because he's going
He's
to
a pastor,
pray.
and he has
my
all these he has this network of churches.
Madam Prophet
that he has-
AOC,
That he here. I'll let him say what
Listen.
you have
Yeah, let him
become
cook.
a false prophet.
false prophet.
Imagine getting any kind of news from some R word like Hassan. Hassan having more views than the news just means there's a lot of R words watching Hassan. Well, luckily in a democracy, whichever side has more people wins. Smile.
Look at what a beautiful day.
What's the Atlantic's top videos? I'm curious. The doomed Cleveland Balloon Fest, the freak accident, the world's tallest water slide was a terrible, tragic idea, adult twins separated at birth, a 97-year-old philosopher faces his own death, why are millions of Chinese kids parenting themselves? What the fuck is this? Why perfect grades don't matter, prisoners of ISIS, hail Trump. I mean, these are all like seemingly high effort things, but maybe not. Border Patrol's corruption what happened to these good videos they used to make? These are all 10 years old. Now it's like David Frum's old ass. I mean, like some of these videos get 2,000 views, bro. You have a million subscriber channel. It's getting 2,000 viewers with your branding on it. Jesus. Also look at the TikToks.
I don't think I'm
So Hassan went to the No Kings protest, chat, and while Hassan was at the No Kings protest, centrist Democrats were losing their shit on Twitter. So What happened? CNN came to talk to Hassan.
I don't think I'm necessarily an issue within the Democratic Party as much as I am an issue for a lot of consultants, a lot of analysts, a lot of people that work with the Democrats, the Democratic political class.
So the most recent sort of conversation, debate about you.
Hi.
Live your life like this woman. You see gigantic cameras all talking to a guy, fucking break in there and go, excuse me, who the fuck are you?
Hi. Who are you? Racist.
I don't. I'm
Who are you?
Just a random guy. I'm a political commentator. On Twitch is a website. You're on it now too.
Oh, okay.
And you're also on CNN.com.
And you're also on CNN.
You got to get on Twitch.
Okay.
There's people in your demographic that watch me.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, there are really.
Why did you come here today?
Because I think he's a prick.
Do you think are the Democratic Party meeting the moments?
No.
I was about to ask the same question. You don't think so?
The Democratic Party is meeting the moment?
Yeah.
No.
How do you like Zohran Mamdani?
I love it.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. I'll have to look out for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Oh, never mind.
I did want to.
I don't think I'm necessarily an issue within the Democratic Party as much as I am an issue for a lot of consultants.
I love him. Zero hesitation. What a queen. And like that, ladies and gentlemen, where's all the people coming up to him and being like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're anti-Israel. Like the average no Kings people, fucking most people came up and were loving on Hassan. He gets mocked by an old lady. Also, she did call him out for immediately talking about how she's an old lady instead of treating her like a person. Called out, deserved. I asked Claude AI to compare Hassan Piker's audience to cringe wine moms at MS Now. On a normal night, MS Now's primetime audience of roughly 900,000 is about 25 times larger than Piker's typical concurrent stream of 36,000. That's not how that works. And as I showed you, Hassan frequently gives over 1 million. So if we're going by views versus views, Hassan Piker has a bigger audience than MSNBC. Now, actually, that's not totally true. If you were going to compare, so the 900,000 is the uniques, right? 900,000 unique people tune in to MSNBC at some time during the night, right? Sometimes during prime time. So how many uniques does Hassan have? He probably has somewhere in the range of like 400,000 in the stream, but you'd have to ask him. I would estimate it's probably at least 400,000 uniques on any given stream day. If you're talking about Hassan on every single platform, it's bigger than MSNBC's. Mike, if this is true, then why are they so afraid of Hassan? Because it's not true. He literally is as big as MSNBC. As far as like impact on the Democratic Party, Hassan Piker is now challenging MSNBC. They're probably slightly bigger, but he's at least 1/3 to 2/3 the size of MSNBC's as far as like audience members. We're talking about a single guy broadcasting from his house versus a multi-billion-dollar media conglomerate. That's why they're freaking out. And like, that's why David Frum got 300 likes on Twitter and 541 replies. The Piker promoters are executing a con. I said live concurrents are not the same as the audience. Piker gets millions of audience views per day. Millions. Source, I just made that up. Source, I'm one of the largest streamers in the world. I mean, it's just a reality. I know how the industry works. Like, I know how the industry works. Sorry. I mean, what do you want me to say? I know how the numbers look behind the live concurrents. You know, I'm looking at 25,000 uniques, 60, 70,000 views on a typical day for me. Like, that's just on my Twitch. The Democratic Party has failed this moment. Bro, you're a fucking Zio. Do you think Amazon is directly promoting him? No. That's why Twitch is awesome. Twitch doesn't interfere with the algorithm. It's so rudimentary that Twitch is actually like the old internet, where people are authentically get popular based off of their views. And I mean, people do manipulate it with bots and whatnot, but the reason why we're popular is because they're not fucking with it. If they were fucking with it, it would not be us, trust me. CBS News under Barry Weiss averages 4 million viewers during prime time. 500,000 fall in the age demographic of 25 to 55 years old. Hassan's daily broadcasts averages 600,000, 700,000 viewers over the course of the day. More people under the age of 55 watch Hassan Piker than CBS News. Actually, the other thing is CBS News is over-the-air broadcast for free. So basically, anybody with the television gets CBS News for free. You have to like know what Hassan is and know what Twitch is and go and like find the website and click it and go into his name and type it in and actually follow the guy in order to get like make an account in order to watch Hassan. The friction between CBS is everywhere. Hassan is incredibly niche. And so more people are finding Hassan, even though he's in an incredibly niche place. Politicians want to come on Hassan's stream. It's not the other way around. He loses viewers interviewing people. Well, okay. This is something that's very important to understand about the Hassan shit. Hassan is popular for Hassan. Hassan is not popular because of access. CBS News is an institution that has credibility, especially with baby boomers, and they have access to the most famous politicians and celebrities. So people go to CBS News because of that access. They don't go to CBS News because of Bari Weiss. All right? People go to Hassan because it's Hassan. He's averaging 37K viewers in March. He streams 7 to 8 hours a day. Those 37,000 viewers are locked in a room, stuck watching all 8 hours of the stream. People come in and out. On average, 650,000 people view a stream with an average watch time of like 20 minutes. You really don't know any fanatics, do you? And I'm pretty sure viewership can be manipulated. Unless it's a big event, there are not 650,000 people watching one stream. They're talking about the difference between a view and a live concurrent. Why are people so stupid they don't understand this? He averages 30,000 viewers in his stream. These people are so fucking stupid. They're so fucking stupid. Are you like, they're actually stupid. They think 30,000 viewers means 30,000 views. That's actually a big problem with Twitch, to be honest with you, is Twitch is very bad at advertising itself. And people don't really understand that different numbers mean different things. They equate every number with equaling a number thing. I'll use me as an example. So, okay, let's say that I have, right now I have 5,683 viewers, right? That means 5,683 people are logged, are have the stream open and are watching it, right? And have interacted with the stream recently enough that Twitch considers you to be an active viewer that is actually watching the stream. There's at least probably another 500 people that have the stream open who Twitch is not currently counting as being a viewer. Okay, so there's probably at least 6,000 people that have my stream open in the world today, right now. Okay, right now, this moment. That doesn't mean only 6,000 people watched my stream today. All right, so let's go through this. What does that mean? Well, what that means is hours watched. Now, this is the metric to care about. How many hours have people watched my stream? Since I launched my stream in 2019, I have gotten 19,468,658 hours. So that means on my stream, 19 million hours have been watched. 19.4 million hours have been watched on my stream. Hassan, if I had to guess, is probably somewhere around 500 million. Okay, 464,604,209 hours. 464 million hours watched. What was the 2020 plateau? This is the 2024 October 7 levers. That was basically Hassan was right about Israel, and it was flat for a while because being right about Israel early meant a lot of people were attacking you for, being correct. And then when people started to kind of recognize around the summer of 2024 that he was right about everything, it went back to the normal growth, the growth pattern that he's had. Also, when you are as big as Hassan, you start to get to like diminishing returns as far as platform size, right? Like there's only so many viewers on the platform of Twitch. Hassan is constrained by the fact that there's only so many people on Twitch that would ever watch a political stream. And there's only so many people that would watch a left-wing political stream. And so if you think about the entire population of people in the world that would watch a left-wing political stream on Twitch, who is not watching Hassan that's among that population? There's probably not even 2,000 or 3,000 more people that he could get without Twitch expanding itself. And sometimes more and more people are going to find their way in. And so then it becomes he's kind of constrained by the platform itself. I mean, Twitch Tracker says he's the 5th largest streamer, according to their calculations, right? As opposed to Twitch, Social Blade, which said he was 500, which is very funny because they don't understand how Twitch works. And as far as I know, Twitch has been platforming, or not platforming, has been plateauing, excuse me, for the past few years. Yeah. 2.1 million average viewers, peak viewers 14 million. I mean, so it's, I don't know. Twitch is, as a platform is kind of hard stuck. It's not really growing from where it is, It's bigger than it was before COVID, but it's pretty much plateaued since COVID, So, I mean, we're looking at 1.5 billion hours watched in January, so it's grown since before the pandemic, but it didn't continue growing after the pandemic. The pandemic blew Twitch up, and it's kind of been plateauing, maybe slightly falling since then. So that's more of a platform problem than it is like a Hassan problem. If you're growing because you're attracting new people to Twitch, and you are claiming a larger share of the people that are already on Twitch. Does that make sense? So for me, like, what's the best way for me to grow? The best way for me to grow is to drive as many people here as I can. And also, who are the people that would be willing to watch me, right? They're probably people that already watch political content. So that's like I could probably double in size just by getting people that are already convinced that watching left-wing political content on Twitch is a good idea. That's why it's funny when you see Asmund gaining 30,000 followers a month, which isn't growing, where all these magical followers come. He's botting. Asmund Gold bots. Asmund Gold is a botter. I mean, that's really all it is. Zachrar. Zachrar. I got 1,000 followers a day, bro. He's gaining 1,000 followers a day, but his viewership is completely flat. How many people think those are legitimate followers? Serious question. He's getting a legitimate 1,000 followers a day, but his line is flat and declining. And that is just, can I make a case? There is no case to be made. He's been exposed, and he has admitted to botting. There's really nothing more to say. They bot. He bots his viewership. I would say that if Asmigul didn't bot, he's probably somewhere in the range of a 15K Andy, maybe 20, which is still good. I mean, it's still good, but he's not 45K. He just says someone may be botting me. Yeah. Everybody, like all the large right-wing streamers and, in that circle bot. Doesn't Hassan look similar? 1K followers a day? No, Hassan gets like 100 maybe. XQC is the only one that doesn't bot. Oh, okay. That's a good one to check. And ultimately, like this, the reason why I'm bringing this stuff up is it's because this stuff is, see, you went to kick, bro. You went to kick, and the moment you went to kick, you crushed your fucking stream, dude. Those gambling streams, man. I think these arguments are weak. I follow you, Zach Hassan. I don't care much for the bickering, but you all have valid point. Okay, bro. We have gone over this many, many times. I guess I can bring it up. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. I'd have to find the fucking post. Basically, God, that's so annoying. I don't want to look at this. I don't want to scroll through my fucking shit looking for this. We covered it many times. It's on my YouTube. You can go and look if you care. Did you investigate OTK Saudi deal? They were bragging about how flying out there to get investment deals probably a year ago. Did they actually do it? I don't give a fuck about botting on Twitch. I really don't give a shit about Asmongold botting on Twitch at this point. Like, he does it. I mean, if he wants to assuage his ego by botting 25,000 viewers and half of his viewers being Eastern European shut-ins, like, who gives a fuck? All right, what else are we going to talk about? Okay. Oh, that reminds me. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hasanabi episode of Reaction has dropped. We have a highlight. Why do fascists love Asmongold so much?
That's the reason why I think Asmongold is so popular amongst the modern, MAGA fascist movement, because he is exactly like many of these other people, a dirty shut-in who's not very intelligent, who has not put a lot of thought or effort into his commentary, or like what this new world order that they would want to design even looks like.
Fascism has always been a grift, but like the postmodern fascism or the postmodern conservatism that we're dealing with today, they don't even really try to draw lines. And it's like these dashed lines are different with whatever Twitter post you're on, right? Like you'll have Sneeko, you'll have Nick Fuentes, you'll have Rev Says Desu, you'll have all of these different contradictory individuals who in no way embody white masculinity, who are representing this movement. You have Asmongold, and this is something that I was curious your take on. I mean, he is very obviously suffering some sort of disturbance, right? He lives in filth. He doesn't seemingly have any in-person interactions. You know, he famously had a rotting rat that he used as an alarm clock. When the sun would rise, it would shine onto the rat. It would release, you know, effluvia of rot, and that stink would like wake him up. He had a blood wall where he would rub the blood from his gingivitis infected gums on, you know, to soothe the bleeding that was happening while he was sleeping. Basically, this is a multimillionaire, but he lives like the lowest order, and he is nearing 40. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have kids. He doesn't seemingly have any productive civic engagement whatsoever. So when you're examining him as a man, he fails in every single way that we traditionally would consider someone to be a man. And yet he has become one of the most prominent conservative voices, as you said, interacting with Elon Musk, being retweeted by JD Vance, the vice president. How do you square that circle in your mind that because they're so degraded and so depraved?
Because it's representational politics.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. Because the overwhelming majority of people that tune in for that are people who are also shut-ins. They're shut-ins who also don't shower frequently, with no real like job prospect, that have completely given up on a positive vision for their own future, for their own destiny, that they've just like leaned into a demonstration of constant resentment politics. That's it. It's just a way to like restore control in their own lives when they feel completely rudderless, when they can't go and, I don't know, participate in regular civilized society. So they just decide, I'm just going to spend every waking moment on the internet. That's why you don't really see a lot of like Asmongold fans out in the real world. I'm sure there's like, you know, the cop that was watching Asmongold compilations on his police vehicle before going and doing a home invasion or whatever. Every now and then there are some people who are out there in the real world that are fans, but for the most part, they're just like
always a little toxic. Wait, what is it? Even when it comes from a leftist. What? No. I think there's a problem with liberalism, and I want to distinguish myself from liberalism. I don't have empathy for somebody like Asmongold. And I never will. And I don't think you should either. I absolutely don't believe you should. He, you know, and it's because he actively is doing harm in the world, and he's not regretful. In fact, he's encouraging more. And I think if you kind of like get trapped in this nursemaid mentality where you would baby him like he's a baby, you are fucking yourself up, and you're making us all worse off. Nursemaid the people that are being targeted by him. Go rush to help the people that are being victimized by him. Go help the people that are poor, the disabled, the immigrant. Go nursemaid those people. He's a millionaire fascist. Stop it. And if you are one of those people that's like, well, Mike, I have to care for everyone. No, you fucking don't. No, you don't. There are literally billions of people that could use your help right now. And you're trying to trip up the fact that he's not a man, even according to the most conservative measurement of what a man would mean. No, stop wasting your time. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear it. And you're not helping. In fact, you're making us less effective. Asmongold, if you want him to stop hurting people, you have to confront him while he's hurting people. There's no excuse.
Weird little guys. So,
oh, you want to watch this video? This video is right here. It's brand new, chat. Brand new this morning on the Reaction Podcast YouTube channel.
For them, it's the same as like I first noticed with Ben Shapiro, right? Like they want they used to love someone like Ben Shapiro before, you know, they all started tuning out because he was so Israel first at a time when like that was no longer politically viable. But they loved a guy who was like as nerdy as they are, who could speak convincingly on what masculinity and what being like a positive masculine figure would be, even if you weren't actually masculine at all. Right. As long as you said those words, as long as you were like, I'm right wing and the expression of masculinity is dominating trans people, dominating women, dominating people of color, it gave them something to easily attach to, right? It was no longer about some sort of aspirational goal about, looking a certain way or living your life a certain way. It was more so just something you could easily adopt by saying those words. And that's why it's so easy to organize for fascists on the internet, because it's all about just saying the right words, right? For them, there's no real organizational discipline, no real ideological discipline. It's just like anchored around specific grievances and dominating certain marginalized identities with your words. So that's the reason why I think Asmongold is so popular amongst the modern, MAGA fascist movement, because he is exactly like many of these other people, a dirty shut-in who's not very intelligent, who has not put a lot of thought or effort into his commentary, or like what this new world order that they would want to design even looks like. Kind of just at the mercy of whatever cultural forces he perceives is going to get him the most eyeballs at any given moment. And a lot of people respond positively to that because they're like, oh, he's just like me. He's just like me. Everyone is desperate to have a little bit of representational politics at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They look to someone like him and think, oh, he's actually very successful and he's nasty. He's a nasty little shut-in and antisocial, just like me. Maybe I can be like him as well. If I present myself as this right-wing mouthpiece on the internet, I can also be a part of this movement. I can see myself as maybe even a leader of this part of this movement, as long as I, post on X, Twitter.
Yeah, the like when I talked about the Hobbit camp thing, the reason they chose hobbits is because they viewed them as like unlikely heroes. These like little guys who, they haven't had their moment yet, but when history or whatever calls on them, they're going to be the people who step in and like actually get it done. It's the same thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, now they're additionally overpowered than ever before because you have like data streaming in immediately as you say something. Like, you don't have to give.
Do you think he's going to respond to this or cower like a bitch? Asmongold? Watch this? What's he gonna say? Of course he's gonna cower like a bitch. He's gonna hide his head because, again, anytime anyone pays attention to Asmongold, he fucking cowers like a bitch. This isn't for Asmongold. There's nothing to respond to. What, he's gonna explain his worldview? You think Asmongold is intelligent enough to explain his worldview in clear language? He's a pussy. There's no way that he would go, I am a neo-fascist, a Straussian, and I believe that, and I'm an atheist. I'm a nihilistic neo-fascist. Like, he's too stupid to come up with anything. He doesn't know anything. What the fuck are you talking about? He's just like, I believe in common sense. I don't read any books. Like, what the fuck are you saying? He's dumb. He bashed his head too many times into the wall when he failed tanking in WoW, okay? He's a DPS warrior who is at the bottom of the charts. He's not exactly bright. I mean, Jesus Christ. His entire life was World of Warcraft, and he didn't even play hardcore WoW when it was one of the biggest, like, cross platform events. Like, can you imagine being that much of a fucking cuck? Jesus Christ, what a loser. Your game has a mode released that like every big streamer is streaming it, and he's too scared to play it because he couldn't make it out of the starter zone without dying after spending 10 years of his life playing the fucking game. Subscribe to Mike's Pod on YouTube, please do. Also, chat, make sure you are listening to us and recommending and doing reviews for the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, like it and go post a review. That goes a long way in helping boost the channel.
Particular pitch to your political movement, and then wait for polls or wait for how many people end up showing up on a party meeting or out in the street. You're directly talking to 10,000 people, 20,000 people, 30,000 people, even 1,000 people, and you're throwing shit at them, and you decide, one stream, I'm going to be throwing this shit, let's see if it sticks. It used to take years to see if a particular political pitch can stick. Now you will know in 24 hours, depending on the amount of donations that came in and how many motherfuckers stuck around. Extrapolate that on every type of content platform that you can think of, and you have this very, very fast, fluid, adaptive model that can constantly shift like a snake in between rocks to whatever the current reactionary pitch is. And that's why, as Hassan mentioned, like people like Ben, I guess, suffer, because this is kind of a period, in my opinion, where we are seeing, you know, the true grifters, the completely dedicated to the craft, and those who hold even like a percentage of some sort of principled perspective kind of get put into two camps. And the only ones that will be able to survive, as you know, society gets more and more radicalized as these distractions.
Why don't you make an effort to also grow? Huh? Grow what? What are you trying to ask?
I'm a bigger and bigger part of how we view the core causes of our problems and so on. The only guys that will be able to survive are the guys that unironically are the most digital reactionaries, those who can follow the kind of cultural zeitgeist faster than the other guy. And what's the only thing that can potentially stop you from continuously adapting? If you have an actual opinion that you're not going to budge on. And, you know, Ben with his whole, you know, Israel shit and so on, he's not budging on that, so he cannot adapt to that. An ultimately contrasting figure to that, for example, is Asmongold, or even an even more radical one, my personal favorite, okay, Candace Owens.
I knew you were going to say that.
This is a person that will just literally invite. That's how I look.
Trump's spiritual advisor is telling everyone to donate to Israel. Holy shit. Okay, let's get back. Hold on. And let me just say this about the like Asmongoldian perspective or the Candace Owens perspective. Like Candace Owens is legitimately much more appealing and smart than Asmongold. Like Candace Owens, who also is botted, is legitimately much more appealing to normal people than he is. She's an attractive woman. The fact that she's a black woman is also an asset for tamping down people's anxieties that they're a bigot by watching her. So, like, that's the other thing is she's kind of like the perfect kind of conservative brain rot content creator. Whereas Asmongold is everything everybody is scared their son will become. An unbathed video game addict shut-in who's mentally ill and malicious to everyone around him. Doesn't brush his teeth or shower.
As generative AI model, like literally, it's just like there's something in the cultural zeitgeist, immediately adapts to it and immediately grows her following out of it. The unfortunate direct effect on, you know, the wider population, unfortunately, is that these opinions start to fester. These opinions and hot takes and perspectives start becoming the mainstream, which then motivate through very basic market mechanisms those same content creators to push towards something more radical, because that old shit is fucking soft and it doesn't give me the, you know, bing subscription notifications on screen. I'm oversimplifying, obviously, but it is kind of a continuous snake eating its own ass loop.
You also came after my queen, Candace Owens, and I disavow. I disavow. Yeah. Candace Owens is the only ideologically disciplined reactionary. I mean, she was waving around a copy of the Talmudic Jew.
Oh wow!
Jews are contract lords, and that's, I guess, you know, that's theory. If you want to reduce it to such crude terminology, but that's technically right-wing theory when you think about it.
I mean, it's min-maxing, because like you understand that 100% of the time when you're pitching a right-wing pitch, you eventually have to come to like one particular ethnicity cabal ruling everything, etc., etc. So she knew that's gonna be the end goal. So she's, giving that pitch even in the beginning so that she can do a nice little throwback as we now are. So she can say like, I'm an OG from every perspective, from every angle. I jest, of course, but yes, the less principled you are, the more principled you are as a right winger, if you understand what I mean. Like,
no, I think
you're utilitarian to the death. Like that is what a successful fascist is, in my opinion.
I do think that we probably need some sort of like that's a good thing. We should have like these heads like jumping when they're talking, VTube style, where they like wiggle when they talk. If they're gonna be faceless, they should have like a little wiggle when they talk, because this is Yugopnik. Well, to build on that and to give a point that's highly relevant as we record this, the United States and Israel are attacking Iran in a completely ill-considered, botched war of aggression that is, which is backfiring horribly, right? And as we record this, as we discuss this, Asmongold used to be the anti-war, America first, bring the troops home isolationist, and now Donald Trump, starts this war, and Hassan, what is Asmongold saying now about the war in Iran and American interventionism abroad?
This might come as a surprise to everyone here, but Asmongold is now firmly committed to bombing Iran, and is saying is totally based. And not only that, but also one of my favorite things that he did recently wasn't just that he's like now super pro regime change in Iran. He also, which again, I think demonstrates his inability to read the room, because even JD Vance is more cognizant of like what the future holds for this unimaginably destabilizing war of choice that is not going to lead to any productive outcomes for American empire, really, and has been a spectacular failure thus far. But not only is he pro, going to war with Iran and destroying the energy markets at the behest of Israel, but he's now also saying like, eventually like people are going to start getting bored of this like blaming everything on Israel thing, which is such a cowardly way to try to manipulate discourse and try to like move your fans in that direction, especially when you're the guy who's like hyping up Nick Fuentes over and over again and talking about how Nick Fuentes is based and how, Hitler was kind of based too, like all this stuff one day. And then the next day you're like, actually, people shouldn't focus on Israel. It's very strange that they hyper focus on Israel, who happens to have unimaginable outsized influence over our political forces and almost unilaterally commands the American military's, at least MENA campaign at this stage.
You know what we could also do? We could pop up the screen for somebody who's talking and have them be like the full screen and put everybody else in the corner, or we could put like the guest in the corner while somebody's talking, and then the guest you pop back in. I'm just like thinking of different ways that we could do it.
That's just,
if every other chatter subscribes to the channel, we will hit 10K subs in 2 weeks. So true. Also subscribe to my YouTube. If you're in this chat, the least you can do is subscribe to our podcast. What the fuck are you doing? Go watch it. It's good.
And has like tremendous domestic leverage, as well, as we've seen with both AIPAC and numerous subsidiaries, and even a pressure mechanism that bullies politicians when they come out and speak out of turn and say things that are objectively true, like Israel's an apartheid state. Reminded of Gavin Newsom's little mishap there. Just don't even think about Israel, guys. Why are you thinking about it, was his attitude. And now even his fans are kind of cooking him on that. But at the end of the day, they just don't really care. I don't think these guys are even invested in Israel.
Oh, hell yeah. The podcast chat is the Reaction Podcast. I will share you this link one more time. Make sure you get there, you go subscribe. We have 3 episodes already, and they're blowing up. The podcast, 3 episodes already.
So that's the reason.
We have the Charlie Kirk, the Sam Hyde, and of course, Why Do Fascists Love Asmongold So Much, featuring Asadavi. Although,
so this
is a highlight and it's not the podcast. Whoops. You put the wrong thing in the fucking... The actual podcast is right here. Two-time anti-Semite of why audio for the podcast? You have to yell at Gopnik and Freda about that. Don't ask me. Go yell into the comments and be like, I want video. Freda on cam. Go ahead. Go yell in the comments. Demand Gopnik. Demand Freda. I'm throwing them under the bus. Go in there. Go hit the like button. Go get mad. Go say, what the fuck? I want video. You know, get in there. Get in there and start yelling. That you fucking Norwegian. Show your blonde ass. Show your Yakubian blue eyes. All right. That's pretty good, chat. Make sure you're subscribing. Ultimately, it really does help me out a lot. Okay. Let's get back to covering the fact that we're all gonna fucking die. Iran war. Trump threatens to bomb water system in Iran. I mean, like, guys, like, this is some war crime shit. Going, I'm gonna bomb the water. Oh shit, we have a hype train. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy the stream, please consider supporting the stream by subscribing. I'm really enjoying the pod so far. What are your plans for the future? We'll continue to focus on one person each time, or we'll move on after a point. I think right now we're focusing on there's two projects that are being kind of explored. The first is talking about individual personalities to help us shape a discussion and then draw it closer to a kind of thesis we have about the online right. So I call it like postmodern conservatism or postmodern fascism, something to that. Like post-fascism is kind of the movement that we're talking about, and connecting it to the online spaces, and just kind of linking it to kind of some of these theoretical ideas that we have about simulacra and simulation and screens, and the idea of fascism as a post-truth social entity and a phenomenon within the West. So it's both an intellectual exercise as well as a way of going after our enemies on the right. And I want it to be a clearinghouse, right? I want people to be able to say, oh my God, Sam Hyde, who the fuck is that? Have Mike and Hugo and Freda, have they gone and talked about that guy? And I want us to have a library of podcasts where whenever you encounter a right winger, or a family member encounters a right winger, or God forbid they link you some content from a right winger, you could say, hey, listen to this podcast about this person, and boom, everybody will have that resource available. I want journalists, I want researchers to be able to pull these podcasts up and be like, hey, oh, this is a good survey of this person, give their background, right? I want it to be a clearinghouse for the right, because that's how they operate towards us, right? Notice that a lot of the attacks that are happening to Hassan are literally DGG clips that are taken out of context, that have been around for months and months and months. And I feel like for years and years and years, I feel like having that clearinghouse, having that ability to kind of challenge intellectually and personally the right is the best way to handle it. Trump is your GOAT. Are you American? Be honest. Oh, you just created your new account. You can't chat here. Only people, you can only chat on your main. No alts. You can't join my account. You can't join my chat and then be on an alt you created 5 minutes ago. You have to have the balls to present yourself in the marketplace of idea. All right, chat. Huge news. Massive US losses in Saudi Arabia. Oh boy. Oh boy. I saw a clip. Fuck, I wish I had it. Was it on you? Oh, fuck. It was like a large rocket strike. Why is this not being covered at all? Here it is.
Today, as the war on Iran reaches its 1-month mark, American troops are still taking casualties. Several servicemen were injured, according to the Pentagon, after an Iranian missile and drone slammed into this American airbase in Saudi Arabia Friday, shown here before the attack. So far, more than 300 U.S. troops have been injured, but more soldiers are on the way amid talk of a U.S. ground invasion of Iran, including Kharg Island, a huge oil export facility that President Trump has repeatedly threatened to invade. U.S. officials have neither confirmed nor denied plans to put boots on the ground.
We are on or ahead of schedule in that operation and expect to conclude it at the appropriate time here in a matter of weeks, not months.
Meanwhile, President Trump hosted Saudi Arabian investors in Florida, where he sounded an optimistic note on talks to end the fighting and finally reopen the strategic Strait of Hormuz.
They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake.
Whatever you call it, Iran still holds the upper hand in the Strait, where Iranian attacks and threats have nearly halted shipping, causing energy prices to spike and global markets to dip.
Guys, this is what it looks like when you're winning.
The president still faulting U.S. allies for not helping America unblock the Strait.
We would have always been there for them, but now, based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
But here in the Middle East, talk of a deal seems remote. More than 3,000 people have been killed so far across the region, and Iran is still striking Israel. Israeli emergency officials said an Iranian missile killed one person last night in Tel Aviv.
By the way, chat, I showed Hassan the Diane defending him. I just raised Hassan's morale so high. You're welcome. You're fucking welcome. You're fucking welcome. He saw the Diane TikTok, and he's feeling so much better. This is the one I'm talking about. He just messaged me.
It's going to start happening. It's already happening.
Because it's like beware, and it's like Hassan, and so you see it, you're like, oh no. And you're like, oh no, it's going to be a hater. And it's like, she's glazing the fuck out of him. Have Maple takes to talk about Canadian conservatives? Perhaps. Definitely something to think about. That's a good idea. So the Barbaras and the Debras, they can never make me hate Hassan Piker. The Democratic Party isn't the left. I actually like the idea of calling out both parties. No one is above criticism. Dems after the election. We need a left-wing Joe Rogan. Hassan Piker exists. Dems, fuck that guy in particular. If Bernie likes him, I like him. 4,000 likes. I'm going to send these comments to him. I'm raising Hassan's morale by myself. You're fucking welcome. Kubrick classic. This is what we're doing to the Trump viewers, okay? All Trump supporters are getting this, and then they're getting this.
Performance of Voices of a People's History of the United States. It was co-edited by Howard Zinn. The late great historian introduced the address.
Frederick Douglass, once a slave, became a brilliant and powerful leader of the anti-slavery movement. In 1852, he was asked to speak in celebration of the 4th of July.
Fellow citizens, pardon me, and allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and to confess their benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us? I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice, I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak today? What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days of the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is a constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty, an unholy license. Your national greatness, swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciation of tyrants, brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy, a thin veil to cover up crimes that would disgrace a nation of savages. There's not a nation of the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument, is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour forth a fiery stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed, and the crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced.
James,
and that's what I see my stream's mission to be. I have the ability to reach the nation that he did not have. Now, obviously, I am nothing compared to Frederick Douglass, and I'm going to use whatever weak voice I have to do that job. And I do it without any sense of grandiosity or importance in myself, but rather just wanting to give you the information you need to go into your community and make a change. Because every word of that speech is still true today, to our eternal shame. Right now, today, March 30th, 2026, America is guilty of no greater crime than genocide, ethnic cleansing, war of aggression, colonial plunder, starvation, collective punishment. We are committing all these crimes bloodier and motivated by greed and avarice. That is as our own nation crumbles, as our own fellow citizens die on the streets, unhoused, naked, sick, and hungry. So yeah, I'm a fucking Twitch streamer because that is the ability, the democratic ability. I now have an ability that I'm sure they would have wished they could have, to just go to my fucking study, press a button, and be streamed around the world instantaneously. Yeah, I fucking used that. I'm not ashamed. They would have used it too. And so anytime somebody's like, oh, you're just streaming or whatever the fuck, and it's like, I use everything that I can. If writing a book would make people change, then I'll write a book. I use the platforms that are being used by the masses to spread our message because it doesn't have to be this way. Losses misspelled? Oh, did I? I'm sorry. You're right. It's not loses, it's losses. Thank you. Anyway, like, that is the reality. It's like when people say loose instead of lose. Oh, it drives me fucking insane. So that's the reality. All of you people that are retweeting this Washington Free Beacon article repulse me. This this person sucks, but they're right. AES was clearly saying in the audio that he didn't want to frame the Iran attack in a positive light just because the Ayatollah was a bad man. He literally condemns the Ayatollah, of course, because it's not about condemning the Ayatollah. It's about supporting American aggression. Apparently, there's been a massive strike into Israel at the oil refinery. So all in all, what I'm trying to tell you is that this is just like pamphlets were a joke when they first started coming out, or magazines or newspapers. Every new technology, the radio, every new technology is an opportunity for the populists, the people that are shut out of the elite, who are in touch with the regular people, to get a new opportunity before it gets controlled and locked down by the capitalist class in order for us to enact change. And one of the reasons why they're attacking Hassan is they don't want AOC to go out. They want to intimidate AOC. They want to intimidate Bernie Sanders. They want to intimidate progressive campaigns from using their most valuable resource. I raised $40,000 for 2 congressional campaigns this last month with this audience. Do you understand how difficult it is to raise that kind of money as a left-wing challenger And I'm just one guy. Hassan raised another 60K at least. They're 2 years from the election. They're already losing their minds over Hassan because Hassan has so clearly got the nation's ear. He's got the youth. Our views are winning. Spain has closed its airspace. From the very clear beginning, it was made absolutely clear to the U.S. military and U.S. forces that the use of military bases is not authorized, nor, of course, is the use of Spanish airspace for any operations relating to the war in Iran. The airspace is not to be used to go to war against something we are totally opposed to, something we do not believe in, which we consider to be profoundly illegal and profoundly unjust. The socialists in Spain showing balls. Now, there's a lot of people who will tell you this can't happen. There's a lot of people that have a kind of stupid, conclusory way they look at the world and they say, oh, a social democrat will never oppose empire on any way. And it's just not true. You need to be smarter. The fact that this is happening is not because the socialists in power in Spain are like super moral people. It's because their base and their voters and their supporters are so firmly against it. And so they're standing up because they have to. We need to make the same changes in America. Abdul El Sayed cracks in the top 5 at Act Blue fundraising over the past 7 days. Surely hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last week over a month straight of getting beat by McMurrow in donations would have to guess the result of the Hassan the Hun attention. Why the fuck is Alexander Vindman in the top 3? Also, meh. Oh my god, he's fucking amazing! Like, Also, Hassan mentioning how he likes John Ossoff is like 5 minutes before John Ossoff condemns him. John Ossoff will be like, that anti-Semite Hassanabi Piker, some China hopium. No. What we need is the TikTok that I wanted to show you about the attack happening in Saudi Arabia.
We warned the Iranian terror regime to stop the missile fire directed at Israel's civilian population.
Okay, why are we seeing an Israeli fucking spokesperson? This isn't even okay, so look at these guys crashing out over the war in Iran. This is fucking awesome.
Missile hit Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. About 12 Americans were injured, and according to reports, 5 KC-130.
Now, all the people in the chat, if you believe in peace, people smile. If you want the war to end, people smile. None of us would celebrate attacks on American service members, now would we, chat? That would be against the Twitch terms of service, which would result in us getting banned. But we all support peace, which is why we are smiling. We're smiling for peace.
5 refueling tankers were damaged, along with 1 E-3 Sentry AWACS radar aircraft.
That we have had an eye on for 4+ years in Ukraine, and that we just aren't paying attention to, and it's costing us equipment, maybe lives of our personnel.
Fact is that Ukraine has been working on this problem for years. That conflict has been going on for 4 years now, and we've learned nothing. Nothing.
We have made, on this channel, have made fun of the Russians that don't learn that lesson and lose aircraft after aircraft after aircraft.
Why were 6 American soldiers in an unhardened command post killed? It's because we haven't learned anything from Ukraine.
This is maddening. I'm going to crash out over some of this stuff. It is so frustrating.
Just today, some of the pictures of that E-3 Sentry appeared on the internet. Yeah, it's a little more than damage there, bub. I am no aerospace engineer, but that certainly looks like the radar dome. I kind of feel like Don Corleone in The Godfather when Sonny was killed.
Look at the mess of my boy.
An Iranian ballistic missile hit Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. About 12 Americans.
The reality is that the United States of America is used to fighting literal militias of dads who are mad their child was just bombed. They're not used to fighting anybody, a state. And I think this is one of those things that I want everybody to draw your attention to. Okay? The state of Iran spends 1% as much money on their military as the United States of America does. 1%. But 1% of America is $9 billion, $10 billion. That's a lot of fucking money. Only states could speak, or huge multinational corporations could speak in terms of billions of dollars. Mike, did you see this? American-born Israeli soldier killed in combat in Lebanon.
Graham died alone.
That's terrible. That's terrible, chat. That's awful. Moshe Yitzhak Hawken Katz was born in New Haven, Connecticut. That's terrible. That's terrible. Chat, what's your favorite shape? Do you like circles? Do you like squares? Do you like rectangles? Like, what's your favorite shape? And what's your favorite color? Maybe you could show me your favorite color and your favorite shape. Wow. A lot of people like red triangles. That's weird. That's a lot of red triangles. Me personally, I'm a hexagon guy. I like the hexagons. But a lot of you like red triangles. That's interesting. Huh. I like the hexagon because of the beehive, chat. Bees live collectively, and that's like the optimized structure. So I like the hexagon. I fuck with bees, man. I like bees. You guys like red triangles, huh? Pretty cool. Anyway, back to this. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Katz enlisted the IDF's paratroopers brigade after moving to Israel. He did not specify how long Katz had been serving. Damn. He enjoyed every moment of life. Well, probably not everyone, but I get your point. Germany's far-right party AfD has called for U.S. troops to leave Germany. They don't believe it. They don't believe it, chat. They're just saying it to steal anti-war energy. Yagopnik says, I've been screaming about this for years. If the left in Europe refuses to capitalize on American decline by pushing for decoupling from the U.S. as a core foreign policy pitch on their agenda, then the right eventually will. It's the perfect popular argument to couple with class-conscious politics, European sovereignty, and an independent path. Ticks all the principled and practical boxes and will only grow in popularity. Oh, abso-fucking-lutely correct. Abso-fucking-lutely correct. The reason why I make fun of Euros in this chat and say you guys are fucking cucks is because I want you to grow independent of America. Okay, let's get some breaking points in here.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
We have a new Trump truth, part market manipulation, part threat to Iran. We'll dig into that. We're going to take a look at the options for ground troops that increasingly appears to be the direction that Trump is headed in. So we will dig into what is going on there. We are also hurtling towards an economic polycrisis involving AI, oil, helium, all sorts of things. Sohrab Ahmari is going to join us to break that.
Actually, the other thing I want to talk about, chat, I don't know if you saw this, but the Houthis have entered the war.
Earlier today, Houthi rebels in Yemen, backed by Iran, announced they launched missiles towards sensitive military sites in Israel, marking the group's entry into this war.
CNN's Eleni Jacos. Good morning to you, Eleni. What do you know?
Okay, so there's quite a few things happening here, and we've got, we're a month in, and it feels on this Saturday we've woken up to what is sort of like an escalation around the region. And this is really a fascinating turn of events. This was perhaps the wild card that everyone was sort of anticipating, because the Houthis have been very vocal in terms of supporting Iran in this war, but very quiet militarily. It's an Iranian-backed proxy group. They have caused havoc in the Red Sea and, importantly, in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which is the other huge maritime choke point, specifically after October 7th. We know that they can really divert a lot of traffic down the Cape of Good Hope. We're already seeing the Strait of Hormuz that is completely being choked off, causing, incredible crises on the oil front around the world. And now with this front opening up.
Try to fix the Dutch leftover left-wing parties here seems extremely impossible. We try, but man, it's an absolute shit out there. I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation as the UN is preparing for a possible nuclear weapon use in Iran. This is a picture of Tehran. For you uneducated, untraveled, never served war hawks, look at your chops at the thought of bombing it. It's some low population desert. These are families, children, family pets, regular working class people with dreams. You're sick to want war. Tehran is a city of 10 million people. Imagine nuking Washington, Berlin, Paris, London, or beyond, bombed with nuclear weapons. I gave up my diplomatic career to leak this information. I suspended my duties so as not to be part of or witness to this crime against humanity in an attempt to prevent a nuclear winter before it's too late. Yesterday, nearly 10 million people protested no kings in the United States. The possibility of the use of nuclear weapons must be taken very seriously. It's dangerous. Act now. Spread this message worldwide. Take the streets. Protest for our humanity and future. Only the people can stop it. History will remember us. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I gotta be completely honest with you, chat. Like, if there's anybody who would use nukes, Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump definitely are near the top of the list. There's no doubt about it.
where they say they launched a barrage of missiles towards Israel. This is clearly an escalation that we're seeing, as we're hoping on the sidelines, that President Trump and even the Iranians might be looking for a diplomatic off-ramp. What is very certain right now, that Iran has a strategic hold over the Strait of Hormuz, something the Gulf countries won't accept. And of course, President Trump is trying to get a coalition of countries to try and open that strait up, as we still see strikes across the region. Victor.
Elena Jocko setting the table with reporting for us this morning. Thank you. All right, let's talk now about these developments and more. We're joined now by CNN military analyst and retired Colonel Cedric Leighton and CNN Global Affairs analyst Kimberly Dozier. Good morning to both of you. And Colonel, I want to talk with you about the new player on the board, and those are the Houthis out of Yemen, the Iran-backed rebel group. They fired their first missiles of this war toward Israel as we start the second month of it. First, an official with the group said that closing the Bab el-Mandeb Strait off the coast of Yemen is a viable option. We've focused a lot on the Strait of Hormuz. If they were to exercise that option, how would that change this war?
Well, that would be a big change, Victor. Good morning to you. There are certain things here that the Houthis have already done and some things that they're talking about doing. So in this particular case, they've obviously sent a rocket toward Israel. That was intercepted. However, if they shut the Bab el-Mandeb.
It's wild how disrespectful our media is, too. They're not called the Houthis. That's a derisive moniker we created here. Well, yeah, that's part of the way they demonstrate their propagandistic pantomime is that they call, whether or not you play along with that is a signifier of whether or not they can trust you to speak propaganda to the American people.
And that is going to impact a lot of the global trade, in addition to what's already impacted through the Strait of Hormuz, through cutting that off. So if the Bab el-Mandeb is cut, that would then cut the alternate trade route that the Saudis have, at least in part. They could still theoretically go through the Suez Canal, but that is going to be a real problem because there are a lot of ships that go down through the southern aspect and down through the Bab el-Mandeb. So it could have significant impact on basically the alternate route that not only Saudi Arabia, but a lot of the other Gulf countries are using. And if that happens, then you will see even more perturbations in the economies of the Gulf states. For example, medicine and food supplies are already being cut in places on the western side of the Persian Gulf. Those supplies could be cut even further if there's no alternate route going into those countries through Saudi Arabia. So it's a significant, potentially significant development.
Kim, what do you think explains the Houthis' month-long sideline here in this war? Why they weren't in earlier, and what explains entering at this point of the war?
You could say that this is a strategic use of assets by the Iranians, but that sort of denies the Houthis any agency in making this decision. The U.S. and Western campaign against the Houthis, when they were regularly rocketing the Israelis, had really hurt the organization. The U.S. unleashed billions of dollars of munitions on the Houthis over the first year or the opening months of the Trump administration. And so when Hamas and Israel had a ceasefire, it was a good opportunity for the Houthis to bow out. They have been biding their time, but now you see, as the Iranians are running out of some of the munitions they have to fire, bringing the Houthis to bear adds pressure. As Cedric was saying, you've got mostly oil and gas shipments out of the Gulf being choked by the Strait of Hormuz. You have a lot of east-west container traffic that comes through the Suez and around the Bab el-Mandeb that would be impacted by this. So you start having a knock-on effect on global trade. And also, Cedric was mentioning in the Cape in South Africa, Singapore, et cetera, the alternate routes and harbors that are being used for this deflected trade are overwhelmed with all the shipping traffic. They're simply not built to take that much. All of that builds the costs, and the Iranians know that really builds the economic pressure on the Trump administration.
Let's talk about it now with retired Lieutenant General William Caldwell. He was former commander of the NATO training mission in Afghanistan. Welcome back, General. Let me start here with the Houthis launching this first missile strike, these missiles toward Israel, announcing their entrance into the war at the start of the second month. How much could they influence or accelerate this war?
Well, it's very interesting. You know, up to now, they have remained out of the war because they recognize that if they do just what they did, Israel is probably going to strike back at them now in Yemen itself. In the past, they were a real threat. As you recall, they really did put a choke point on that. You know, there's the Strait of Hormuz, and then as we just talked about, there's the other strait that goes into the Red Sea there. And so those two choke points can really...
The other strait that goes into the Red Sea there. These are the generals and experts. Hey, it was probably a bad idea to fight a war with Iran if they have the ability to interfere with two of the most important sea corridors in the entire world. Have you considered that starting a war with them was probably a bad idea in light of that fact? And by the way, the Iranians thought, foolishly, that America was bright enough to know this. And this is the thing that I would say to anybody who's opposing America. Assume Americans don't know basic geography or history. The only way they understand what's going on is if they take a bloody nose. That's it. What Iran should have done is they should have done a full spectrum retaliation the first time they got attacked. And that is the only way to counter America, is you have to make them scared that they're going to get a bloody nose. That's why getting nuclear weapons for North Korea was so intelligent, because now North Korea understands, hey, we're secure because it's too risky to attack. Because if you attack us and it seems like our regime is under threat from military action, we will nuke Seoul or Tokyo and the United States of America or London or, Los Angeles. So there's no like, oh, okay, we're going to fuck with the North Koreans, because they have that ability, at least as far as military attacks. So that ironically makes the situation in North Korea more stable because they have the ability to attack. Iran is now vulnerable because they think they can fight this fucking conventional war. And they're going to have to learn through slow, bloody, grinding attrition that they can't. America never learns lessons. We just lost our war in Afghanistan, 20 years. Afghanistan? We lost in Afghanistan and you're going to fight Iran. And America, there are millions of Americans who support it. Like, it's going to work. What the fuck is going on in your head? Afghanistan is child's play compared to Iran. Like, it's absolutely insane. And not only that, Russia is now engaged in a fucking war with NATO in Ukraine. A proxy war in Ukraine where Russia is losing millions. They have a direct, vicious incentive to make the United States pay as much as possible in any war in Iran. That involves sharing resources like satellite imagery or drone technology that they wouldn't previously have been interested in sharing had they not been in war in Ukraine. But because they're in Ukraine and the United States is pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into Ukraine to kill Russians, Russians are now incentivized to pour advice and research and help to the Iranians to help them kill Americans even more effectively. This is the dumbest shit I've ever fucking seen.
Influence the entire flow of economic goods and oil across the world.
Yeah, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait there, as we see just west of Yemen there. Let me ask you about the progress of the war, because we heard from the president last night at a Saudi investment forum in which he talks about the work that's been accomplished and what is still left to do. Let's play that.
It's not finished yet. I'm not saying it's sort of finished, but it's not finished. It's got to be finished. And we have another 3,554 targets left, and that'll be done pretty quickly. And then we, at some point we're going to have to determine what we do. But they've never seen anything like it.
3,554 targets left. The accuracy of that number aside, is that the right lens through which to look at this conflict, a count of targets in reaching whether or not the U.S. will reach its goal?
Well, I think as we all look at this, what's going on, what we're trying to do is drive them to the negotiating table, to cut a deal.
They were already at at the negotiating table. Wait, so we bombed the negotiators to drive them to the negotiating table, which they were already at? And we already had a deal where they said they would never pursue a nuke, which we ripped up. They don't even, I mean, like, honest to God, dude. Aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you fucking embarrassed? Chat, imagine if we were spending $1 trillion on infrastructure in our country every year. Just $1 trillion. Just like, think about all this shit that sucks. We were spending trillions of dollars to fix. Fixing traffic in LA, building high-speed rail, building robust, beautiful public transit all over the country, electric buses, subways, tram networks. We were spending $1 trillion on that every year of new construction. Think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Think about what we could have accomplished if we said we're going to spend $1 trillion a year for the next 10 years on fixing America's infrastructure. We would have fucking pneumatic tubes that would suck you out of your front door.
As the leadership keeps saying to the United States, we want to bring them to the point where they're willing to talk. Look at that 15-point plan again that was presented to them, through the Pakistani government, so that they have the opportunity to, agree to or make concessions so that they won't have a nuclear program again, that they won't have proxies across the Middle East, from Hezbollah to Hamas and the Houthis. And so this negotiation, the pressure that is continuing to be put on them will be brought by hitting more and more of those targets. I mean, just yesterday, Israel hit, the 2 nuclear associated targets there in Iran, along with steel plants, which the IRGC, their army uses as a pseudo monetary means of income. Those kind of things will start having more of an impact and influence what's going to be taking place in the days ahead.
Let me ask you about the USS George H.W. Bush aircraft carrier. Sources say that it could be deployed into the region now. We don't know if it's going to be added to the Lincoln and the Ford carrier strike groups, or it's going to replace one of them. But do you know enough at this point how to fit that piece into the puzzle?
Well, when you look at it, we've been at this now for 4 weeks, going into our 5th week. And at this point, the crews on those ships, those task forces have just got to be exhausted. They're going 24/7. They're creating so many sorties every day that are flying over Iran. The planning, the preparation, the support, all the members on those vessels that are then reconstituting the aircraft and getting them set to go again. It's just got to be exhausting. So there's a high probability what they're going to do is rotate one carrier group in and another one out to give it some relief so that they can continue the intensity of the operations.
All right. Lieutenant General William Caldwell, thanks so much.
Today marks 4 weeks since the start of the war, and there are no signs that the end is in sight. Iran has attacked an airbase in Saudi Arabia used by the U.S. military, injuring at least 10 U.S. troops. Iranian state media released a satellite image showing the damage to Prince Sultan Air Base, amounting to one of the most serious breaches of American air defenses since the start of this growing conflict.
We have... So... a KC-135, by the way, an AWACS plane being shot down is a huge loss. There's not that many of those. That is a huge L. Like, this is, I'm trying to explain to you guys. It's like the entire cost of the Iranian Navy has been equalized with this one missile.
I've seen multiple strikes against Gulf countries, but importantly, I want to focus on that attack on the airbase in Saudi Arabia, Prince Sultan Air Base. 10 U.S. service members were injured. 2 are being treated for shrapnel injuries that are not life-threatening, but we also don't know the extent of the other injuries to the other service members. You mentioned around 300 service members have been injured since the start of the war, and from what we know, since March the 25th, there are 13 service members that have been killed. So those are the numbers right now, as President Trump asserts that they're winning this war and, importantly, opening up a 10-day diplomatic window and holding off on striking Iranian power plants. So that's quite important to take note of, as we're seeing sort of potentially some kind of talk, exchanging of messaging mediated by Pakistan.
The whole Gulf region is absolutely fearful and concerned about the possibility of worse damage yet to come. It's already been catastrophic, in the words of the Qatari Foreign Ministry, the economic damage that's been inflicted on this Gulf state alone since the start of the Iran war. But, you know, there is this constant ability of the Islamic Republic to throw drones and missiles, lash out at the Gulf Arab states. And it's been doing that. Here in Qatar, there have been several, and these are the words of the Defense Ministry, several drone attacks that were intercepted by the Qatari forces over the course of the past 24 hours. President Zelensky of Ukraine has actually been visiting Qatar today. He's been on a bit of a tour of the Middle East. He's signed a 10-year agreement to supply Qatar, along with Saudi Arabia, potentially in the future the United Arab Emirates as well, with Ukrainian drone technology, interceptor drones, to help them deal with that constant Iranian drone threat. Of course, Ukraine has a great deal of experience with dealing with Ukrainian-designed and Russian.
The thing is, like, Shahids are actually not that hard to defeat. That's what's so insane, is they're failing to defeat Shahids, even though they are relatively, they're like, honestly, they're not that advanced of a weapon. Like, they're a slow, it's like a light plane flying slowly and then doing a suicide crash into a target. Like, yes, that is, it's incredible how cheap Iran is making them. That's what makes the Shahid drone so effective. It is a precision weapon that they make for cheap, but the weapon itself is not like super sophisticated. It's just super cheap and effective. Cheap and effective, not sophisticated, meaning it's slow. It's not stealthy. It's slow. It's small and slow and low flying. It's not that, and it's still getting through. If they land Marines on a fucking Iranian beach and they're using first-person drones, oh, we are fucked. Like the Shahid drone is incredible because it goes long ranges and long distances to strike, which is what the United States was not capable. The United States is used to standoff distance. That's where the Iranians have caught up. That's how the Iranians have done so much damage, is because they are reaching out and touching us. We're supposed to be able to shoot from way outside their punching range. That's why Trump is a fucking idiot, because we are attacking the Iranians from outside their punching range. We use Tomahawk cruise missiles. We use cruise missiles. We use ballistic rocket attacks. We use stealth aircraft, and we are attacking their defensive forces, right? Well, the Shahids allow them to counterpunch. That's what America's not used to. The fact that they're able to reach out and touch us back. So we're having to back up further and further and further because Americans have no appetite for American casualties. That is what the Shahid drone does. The Shahid drone allows the Iranians to reach out and touch the United States and punch back. They're used to not being able to be punched back. But if we actually land troops, well, then we're inside of Iran's fucking pocket. They're not slinging Shahid drones or expensive ballistic rockets. They are right there where they could plant improvised explosive devices. They could use first-person drones. They could use booby traps. They could use direct fire munitions. You think it's bad now? Land a Marine battalion on a fucking Iranian shores. Land a Marine battalion. Then you'll start seeing the highlights. IDRC has been training mobile FPV squadrons with Russo-Ukrainian doctor the last 2 years too. They're ready. Of course they're ready. They've been working with the Russians. The Russians bought a bunch of Iranian drones for exactly this reason. They wanted to have a weapon that was cheap that would put pressure on the Ukrainian interceptors. And so there's been cooperation between the Russian military and the Iranian military on drone technology. And if there's one thing about drone technology is it's really bad for traditional forces. We have videos of first-person drones being used by Hezbollah. The IRGC have announced it was a $20,000 Shahid 136 drone that destroyed the $700 million US E-3 aircraft. Look at this shit, chat. I talked to you about this. I don't think a lot of you understand what an E-3 Sentry is. This is one of the most advanced aircraft anywhere in the world. This is airborne radar, okay? The AWACS system creates a 360-degree radar picture of the entire battlefield, including on the ground. And it transmits this information to American other jets. It basically does complete control of the battle space. gives us way more information. That's the radar dome, the roto dome. Okay, there's not that many right now. How many are in service right now? There are 16 in the world. On March 27th, 2026, an E3G with the serial number 81-0005 was destroyed by an Iranian drone and missile strike. It was supposed to stay in service until 2035. The UK is buying 5 of. Okay, I'm sorry. They're buying wedge tails, which I guess are different. I almost want to show us a video on AWACS, just so you guys understand that this is a huge kill. This is a huge theater kill. Christ, YouTube, you so fucking. Google is actually garbage. Holy fucking shit. It's completely trash. Holy fuck, it's trash. Up music. Let's see if we can find. Let's see if we can spot the one that was killed.
So if you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that we've covered some pretty cool aircraft. However, I'm not sure anything has come close to providing as much battlefield capability as this thing right here. Yep, that's the E3 Sentry, or more commonly known as the AWACS. And for the past 40 years, it's been the Air Force's eye in the sky. However, its days out here on the flight line are numbered, as it's likely going to be replaced with the next generation platform in the years to come. However,
anonymous user, thank you so much for the gifts. Appreciate you. 25, hell yeah.
Before that could happen, you guys know I had to get out here to cover this iconic aircraft. So today, I'm here with the 552, America's Wing at Tinker Air Force Base, to bring you an up-close look about the E3 Sentry in the AWACS mission. There really are so many amazing things to talk about when it comes to this aircraft, but before we get too far, we better start with its mission. As an airborne warning and control system, or AWACS for short, the E3 is really just like a flying control tower. It helps identify the good guys versus the bad guys, and instead of being fixed on a specific area on the ground, the AWACS takes that capability to the sky, utilizing its massive rotating radar dome to detect everything in its path. But that's really just the beginning, because it takes quite the team to operate this thing. From the crew that flies it to the unit that supports it, there are so many people that all play a part in helping the AWACS accomplish its mission.
So to talk about the E3, you really do need to go back in time to the early 1970s when it first came off the production line. The E3 is a modified Boeing 707, and the version the Air Force flies still uses the original 707 fuselage and engines. So to give you a quick reference, the last 707 passenger flight by a US airline was all the way back in 1983. So the fact that this thing is still being used in its role today is pretty remarkable. Now, flashing forward, over the next 4 decades, the E3 has played a vital role in almost every military conflict due to the aircraft being flown by both the US Air Force and NATO alliance forces. Whether it's helping to identify friendly forces or enemy threats, the E3 is the eye in the sky, providing threat detection and coordination directly from the air, which, by the way, I will say was demonstrated expertly in the movie Transformers. Now, to hit briefly on the specs, well, you have to start with the rotodome, the unmistakable 30-foot flying Oreo that is actually just a massive radar. It's capable of detecting targets from the surface of the Earth all the way up into the stratosphere and provides a 360-degree radar picture that can be shared instantly with fighter jets, ships, or other nearby control centers. The last thing I'll say is that flying and operating the E3 is no easy task. The aircraft itself can fit 39 people, and there's almost...
By the way, look at how this guy's... This guy is selected by the U.S. Air Force to make this propaganda. This is propaganda that's paid for by your fucking tax dollars to give this guy, and he's given hundreds of thousands of dollars. He's given this access so that he could spread the information that the Air Force wants out there to justify its funding. This is North Korean style propaganda. And I even say, even me saying it's North Korean style propaganda is propaganda. It shows you how my brain has been wired to think North Korea equals propaganda. This is better than North Korean propaganda. This is American propaganda.
Always at least 20 on board, helping man all the stations during a mission. So with that being said, my first stop of the day was to visit the team responsible for one of the most challenging parts of the E3 mission.
Dodging Shahed drones?
Making sure it's fit to fly.
China does the same videos. China doesn't have privately owned corporations that profit from making weapons. I know that's gonna blow your okay, let me rephrase that. The vast majority of Chinese weapons are produced by state-owned companies. Whereas in America, the vast majority of our weapons are produced by for-profit companies. Like, if you look at China's, because there are some private companies who do small amount of weapons in China. So I don't want to pretend like it's all state-owned, but it's almost all state-owned weapons manufacturers. Okay. See? They have Norinco. Norinco is owned by the government. See, the United States doesn't have it. We have private weapons contractors. State-owned, also called public ownership or government ownership, is the ownership of an industry, asset, property, or enterprise by the national government of a country or state or a public body representing a community as opposed to individual or private party. So we have these private, we have Boeing. Boeing makes profit for international investors. In November of 2020, Donald Trump issued an executive order prohibiting any American company or individual from owning shares in companies that the United States Department of Defense has listed as having links to the People's Liberation Army, which included Norinco Group. In June 2021, Joe Biden issued Executive Order 14032, expanding the scope of the national emergency declared in 13959. Wow, I can't believe Joe Biden is expanding the policies of Donald Trump? You don't say. Media reports indicate that Hamas have used thousands of Norinco-made assault rifles in the war. So if we go to China and we look at the Chinese weapon manufacturers, the China Aerospace Science and Industry Corporation, owned by the government, for some reason has the Star Trek logo. See how all their big military industrial corporation companies are owned by the government? So the profits go back to the people. Now, if we go to the United States of America, any profits, any surplus goes back into the general fund to be spent on the people. If we go to America's military contractors, let's see here. No, this is privately owned, and they made $15 billion in 2023. Cool. Oh, that's the asset. Sorry. They made $5 billion. That's it? We're doing all this for you to make $5 billion? That's it? God. Oh my God, dude. Jesus fucking Christ.
Russian deployed Shahid drones in the conflict there. And so Ukrainian expertise is of immense value at the moment to this region. But yeah, there have been Iranian missile and drone strikes, Qatar. You mentioned Saudi Arabia, 10 at least US service personnel have been injured, as well as a US military tanker that has been damaged. That airport in Kuwait, the international airport there, dramatic images of fire sort of lighting up the night skies after what the Kuwaiti military say was damage to a radar system there as well. And there have been drone and missile attacks just like that across the Persian Gulf region.
Colonel, the administration to this point has not taken deployment of U.S. ground troops off the table. In fact, our sources tell us that some of the next phase options that the president is being offered come with the risk of high casualties because they could involve or would involve U.S. troop deployment. I want you to listen here to Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the potential for ground troops.
We can achieve all of our objectives with our ground troops, but we are always going to be prepared to give the president maximum optionality and
maximum optionality. These guys think they're so fucking cool. We're gonna give the president maximum optionality, guys. We gotta give the president maximum optionality. Like they think we're confused about this. By the way, you don't sail the Ready Marines. You don't spit up the 82nd Airborne. You don't send 2 amphibious assault ships with their support ships and the Marines halfway across the fucking world for optionality. The option has been selected. They're just trying to give strategic ambiguity before the attack takes place. They're trying to get the Iranians to doubt themselves and allow them more time to prepare the invasion. If you're Iran, you should start handing out, honestly, if Iran wants to get in front of this, what they should be doing is handing out ultimatums of their own by saying, if America or if Israeli planes violate our airspace by X date, we will fire X weapon. We will destroy X target. Like, they should be handing out ultimatums the opposite way. Like the whole idea of like, oh yeah, we're negotiating, oh it's about to end. This is all smokescreen. They're surrounding the operation with lies. They're invading.
Maximum opportunity to adjust to contingencies should they emerge.
Can achieve all of the goals without using ground troops. But on Truth Social last week, the president listed 5 objectives. One of them was never allowing Iran to get close to nuclear capability. Can that be guaranteed without the deployment of ground troops, considering the enriched uranium is still there in Iran somewhere?
Yeah, unless it's turned over voluntarily, that enriched uranium, Victor, I don't think so. And this is, kind of an interesting statement by Secretary Rubio, because what he's basically saying is that the goals that they have can be met without ground troops. Well, depends on what the goals are. But if that goal stays the same, the one that you mentioned specifically about the enriched uranium and securing that and preventing the Iranians from using it, that's very hard to achieve unless there's a diplomatic solution that says Iran is going to turn it over to a third country or to the IAEA or some other international body. So this is it's not realistic to say that we are not going to be in use of ground troops at this particular point in time if those goals remain the same. So it's color me skeptical at this point.
Kim, I want to play for you the president last night talking about NATO, again bemoaning their refusal to send assets to the Strait of Hormuz to guarantee passageway.
I think a tremendous mistake was when NATO just wasn't there. They just weren't there. It's going to make a lot of money for the United States because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on NATO, hundreds of protecting them. And we would have always been there for them. But now, based on their actions, I guess we don't have to be, do we?
I mean, the president's been frustrated with NATO for a very long time, going back to his first term. But is this moment different? Because in the previous iterations
NATO is just American force projection. Like, that's why this is what's so funny. Is like, Donald Trump is so stupid, he doesn't know that NATO is just the way that America occupies Europe. That's what the purpose of NATO is, for America to occupy and control Europe's foreign policy so that it doesn't operate in favor, so that, and the Europeans, they receive certain concessions. They have to spend less on their military in exchange for America dictating their foreign policy. But that deal is broken down. Now we're like, oh, you have to spend a shit ton of money on the military anyway. And you don't get to control your own foreign policy. And you're going to we are literally deindustrializing Europe. We're colonizing Europe.
This frustration, these complaints, the U.S. wasn't fighting its own war at the time, having to focus on its own resources. I wonder, how does Putin hear that? How do others hear this new frustration or this renewed frustration from the president?
This is good news for Putin whenever Trump gets mad at NATO. But let's remember, NATO isn't some disembodied entity. The U.S. is part of it. He's really mad at Western allies who didn't automatically join after he and Israel had launched this war without briefing the allies, explaining to them the war goals, doing any of the groundwork you do before launching a strike like this to bring others on board at some point in the future. So this is a Trump shooting himself in the foot situation, but he's still seeking someone else to blame.
Kim Dozier, Colonel Leighton, thank you both.
Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stavridis. Admiral, good to see you. We're 4 weeks in now. Yemen's Houthis struck Israel for the first time since the war began. 10 Americans just injured at a Saudi base. More troops headed to the Middle East. The market's down. It's feeling like escalation, despite the president's desire to limit it to 4 to 6 weeks. Your thoughts?
He can still limit it to 4 to 6 weeks, but the chances of doing so are getting harder and harder. I think the Houthis starting to strike, if you will, that's going to become the Western front of this war. That's another significant choke point because it controls the Suez Canal. So if you put Suez Canal closed alongside Strait of Hormuz closed, you've got an enormous gun pointed at the head of the global economy. So extremely worrisome. To the question of, is President Trump bluffing or not? Are ground troops inevitable or not? I think the point to be made is that the chances of using them, the option to use them that Secretary Rubio is talking about, is increasing. Is it inevitable that he'll use them? No. Is he bluffing? I don't think so. If we know one thing about President Trump, it's that he's unpredictable. So if I'm in Tehran, I'm concerned as I watch the level of ground force increase moving toward and in the region.
There's a perception, I think, in the media that we're putting tremendous troop concentrations in the Middle East. I read something online from a guy who writes provocatively, admittedly. His name is Ken Klipperstein. Just one quote. If you squint, an invasion seems inevitable, but look closer at the actual state of each force being sighted, and a very different picture emerges.
The famously subtle Donald Trump is going to he's going to bring these forces up, and he's going to say, you know what, I'm backing down.
Your reaction?
It's not inevitable, obviously. Again, we know President Trump is unpredictable. He's also impatient. And ultimately, will he use those troops if he decides to? I think he will. I don't think it's a good idea from everything I see right now. But the point for Tehran is not to try and assess, is it inevitable or not? It's, is it possible? And so I think that troop increase that you're seeing is extremely significant. Inevitable, no. Possible, yes. More likely than it was 3 weeks ago, yes.
You wrote for Bloomberg this week and focused on Karg Island. What's the value to the United States if we can control Karg Island?
Quite simply, we can strangle the Iranian economy. 90% of their oil transships through that kind of 7 square mile patch in the northern reach of the Persian Gulf. So if you can control it, you can inevitably throttle the Iranian economy. That's a good thing.
You know, they could just build they could build more infrastructure. They have alternatives as well. Like, Karg Island is there because the strait is open and it was convenient for shipping, but they could just build an alternative hub, and you have, it's a short term, unless you're planning on just continually attacking the country forever, in which case, why the fuck would they concede? This is batshit crazy. That's why if you're the Iranians, they should go full spectrum response. They should do it now. In fact, they should have done it weeks ago. The moment the supreme leader Khomeini was assassinated, they should have attacked every single Gulf. They should have crashed. They should have done it immediately. It was full spectrum. They should have it's crazy that they're trying to slow walk the U.S. because again, the United States is not going to accept anything but subjugation. So I guess if they want to do it and they're trying to save face, throttle the economy like what we've been doing for them for years. Yes, of course. Non-binaries like Mills over Plattner by insane numbers, I guess, according to this poll. Someone showed the clip of me explaining that earlier.
Question I think the Pentagon is wrestling with and trying to give the president the right set of options is
there were 9 non-binary or other in the poll. There are at least 4,000 non-binary people in Maine. If you go by a 95% confidence interval, the margin of error on that subpopulation is at least 40%, plus or minus 40%. So in other words, that poll has absolutely no predictive capability whatsoever. The poll also shows plus 20% Trump favorability by non-binaries. Exactly. It's not a reliable, it's not the poll. That shouldn't even be, whoever posted that's a fucking idiot. Either they're a full-blown moron or they were lying to you. And I would basically call that lying.
Do you have to actually seize it and hold it? That's a significant military challenge, frankly. Or should you blockade it? Or could you go in and simply destroy it? You really have all 3 of those options. Which is the best is something the Pentagon's wrestling with, and the president will decide soon.
You are a former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. Here's something that the president said via Truth Social this week relative to NATO. NATO nations have done absolutely nothing to help with the lunatic nation, now military decimated, of Iran. The USA needs nothing from NATO, but never forget this very important point in time, President Donald J. Trump. If a NATO member initiates an attack, Admiral, and then draws return fire, is Article 5 kicking in?
It is if the initial attack is based on imminent threat, hostilities that nation believes are about to break out, which is the narrative the administration has used here. Then it would have to go to the North Atlantic Council. All the NATO countries come together and evaluate it. And if there's a collective decision that the initial round of strikes were done preemptively in the face of a standing threat, then I think there's a legal basis. I want to make a point about NATO that's important for people to remember. It is this. After 9/11, NATO responded. European NATO responded. They sent 50,000 troops ultimately to Afghanistan. They were under my command for 4 years. Hundreds of them died there. NATO has stood and delivered for the United States. I think in this crisis, you'll see them come at some point, perhaps from the sea, in order to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
What can our allies do, not NATO, our European allies, shy of NATO's full participation? What can the allies do relative to Iran?
Quite a bit. And in particular, two things I draw a line under. One are the mine-sweeping capabilities. Minesweepers, mine hunters. The Europeans are very good at this. Why? Because
the delusion is insane. The delusion is insane. The Russian Navy has been absolutely slapped around by cheap drones and autonomous ships, and it has basically made the modern Russian Navy irrelevant to the conflict. Because why? Because the Black Sea is small. So if they actually bring up U.S. or European assets to the within striking distance of Shahids and other drones off the Iranian coast, they're going to get sunk.
Because they have enclosed seas they have to deal with, Baltic Sea and the Mediterranean. There are
They haven't been attacked in the Baltic Sea. They do fucking exercises against no one. If you bring up fucking assets to the Iranian shores, they're going to get hit. What are you talking about? I love the way that they are like imagining that like this is fucking Afghanistan again or Iraq again. This isn't 2023. This is 2026. I don't want it to happen, but maybe an American ship being hit will correct the way that people are thinking about this and bring it back to reality. They are putting us into a war with Iran with delusional beliefs that are not related to reality at all. I was just saying earlier how don't think the American military is going to be defeated conventionally. But if this is the 4-star admirals, we are in deep shit.
NATO mine countermeasure groups that could be brought into this to help clear the strait. And then secondly, Michael, NATO maintains standing maritime forces. These are guided missile frigates, guided missile destroyers. They're an international force representing all of the nations of NATO. Those could also be brought in. It could be done under the NATO flag if it went through the process I described, or it could be done individually by the European nations. I think ultimately the Europeans will decide to participate in a strait clearing operation. We need their help.
Admiral James Stavridis, the former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO. We appreciate you, Admiral. Thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, I saw this, chat. Israel has passed a law for the execution of Palestinian prisoners.
It's one of the key staging grounds for U.S. operations in the region, which makes the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia such an appealing target for the Iranians. According to U.S. media reports, around a dozen American soldiers were wounded, including 5 seriously, and several aerial refueling planes were hit in strikes carried out by Tehran. Iran broadcast what it claims are images of the operation on national television. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard said it carried out its 84th wave of retaliatory strikes using missiles and drones. In a statement, the IRGC claimed that its operatives destroyed a number of refuelers and the logistical fleet supporting the U.S. terrorist army at the Al-Kharj base. It's not the first time the Prince Sultan base has come under attack. In a previous incident on March 1st, a U.S. serviceman was wounded and later died from his injuries. Shortly after that, Iran managed to damage 5 refueling planes that were on the tarmac. A month into the war, the Iranian attack shows that the regime remains able to strike at the heart of American assets, despite the Trump administration's claims.
I mean, like, honest to God, guys, we're just about to defeat them. Oh, shit, we just got hit. We lost our AWACS plane and 5 mid-air refuelers. I guess that was just the last shot they had, huh, chat? It just was a golden gun.
That it's a
What are some good sites that will explain Egypt and Turkey's thinking? They are puppets of America. The Egyptian government is literally a military dictatorship that was supported in the overthrow of the democratic government of Egypt by a military coup, and it's supported by billions of dollars of annual aid from the United States, which works closely with the secret police that torture and kidnap any Arab dissident in the entire Middle East. We oftentimes will send people to Egypt to be tortured and executed in black sites. As far as Turkey, it's been an American puppet for literally decades. And NATO, for fuck's sake. So they're going to stare at the wall until Israel walks up and shoots them to the back of the head.
Violated Iran's ballistic missile capabilities. Meanwhile, American and Israeli forces are continuing their strikes. Iran's foreign minister has accused them of targeting civilian centers, including schools, hospitals, and residential areas. The University of Science and Technology in Tehran was also reportedly damaged. Nearly 1,500 Iranian civilians have been killed since the war began, according to a report by several human rights NGOs. On the American side, 13 soldiers have died since February 28th, and nearly 300 have been wounded.
Oh, shit! I didn't see this. Satellites reveal how drones bombed U.S. bases.
Since the first wave of American and Israeli bombs fell on Iran on February the 28th, the Iranians have struck back. But how effective were these strikes? And how much damage did they actually cause? Satellite imagery once again offers some of the clearest answers. We're going in depth to analyze this imagery and tell you what it really means on this episode of Photo Evidence. Let's start here. This base in central Jordan has quietly become one of the most important hubs for US military operations in the region. In the days leading up to the conflict, more than 60 US aircraft were spotted on the ground here: fighter jets, drones, and transport planes. That's around 3 times the base's usual level. Among the aircraft visible were some of the most advanced in America's arsenal, including F-35 stealth fighter bombers. Also spotted were F-16 fighter bombers and F-15 air superiority fighters. This is clearly more than just a logistics base. Taken together, those aircraft represent the tip of the American spear meant to pierce Iran's air defenses. Some were seen parked in the open, others likely contained in aircraft shelters hidden from satellite view. The base sits more than 500 miles from Iran, far enough to put it beyond many of Iran's...
See, the Americans think like, oh yeah, see, we have the ability to reach out and touch you, but you don't have the ability to reach out and touch us. And that's why the Shahid drone is such an effective weapon, is that it creates it creates the ability to at least threaten US forces way outside of Iran's territory, which is why America's scrambling.
Iran's shorter range weapons. And yet, the base was hit several times in the opening days of the war. One of the most significant hits, shown here in this image from March the 2nd, took out a key installation on the base, a THAAD missile defense battery. Each one of these is estimated to cost up to $1 billion. THAAD, which stands for Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, is a key part of the American air defense umbrella, designed to protect high-value bases, such as this one. You might have heard of Patriot missiles. Well, THAAD is designed to work alongside them. While the Patriots are designed to take down aircraft, cruise missiles, and shorter-range ballistic missiles, THAAD deals with the high-flying, long-range ballistics. In other words, exactly the kind of missiles Iran would need to fire at this base because of how far away it is. The system's split across 5 40-foot trailers which house things like radar, missiles, and launcher, all of which appear to be damaged. 2 large blast sites are visible, suggesting it took multiple hits to destroy the battery. It's impossible to tell exactly what weapons were used from this image, but anecdotal evidence suggests Shahed drones were responsible. That is plausible. Anti-air sites like this were designed to spot high-flying, fast-moving missiles. They have a blind spot for slow-moving, low-flying drones. If that turns out to be true, then the strike is hugely significant. Drones worth an estimated $35,000 each were able to take out a $1 billion air defense battery. At the core of the THAAD system is a powerful radar, the AN/TPY-2, which on its own costs around...
This thing is cooked. This thing's fucking cooked. That's cooked.
$500 million. This is what was left of it after that strike. When operational, this is supposed to detect and track incoming missiles. Without it, the system is blind and cannot function. With the US only having 8 THAAD batteries worldwide, the destruction of even one has major operational implications. Either the Patriot systems which accompany it are going to have to work overtime to compensate for the loss, depleting their own missile stocks, or America is going to have to pull another THAAD system from somewhere else,
did.
like the Pacific, where they're supposed to be defending Taiwan and put it in the Middle East instead. This attack and others like it show that Iran isn't just firing blindly.
Israel is at the top of the empire, then America, then all of our puppets, right? So Israel needs it, yoink. South Korea who?
At US bases. It is aiming for their weakest points and hitting them successfully. That requires sophisticated intelligence gathering to provide targeting data. Intelligence which may hint at the involvement of other US rivals, namely Russia. Another very similar strike is thought to have taken place in Saudi Arabia. This is Prince Sultan Air Base. Just like the airbase in Jordan, a significant number of American aircraft were seen gathering here before fighting broke out. Unlike Jordan, this base seems to have been used mostly for support planes. This satellite image shows E-3 AWAC planes on the tarmac here. These are basically flying radar dishes, the eyes of America's fighter jets, the same way the THAAD radar are the eyes of its ground-based missile defenses. Alongside them are KC-135 mid-air refuelers. These are flying petrol stations.
Very kind of the US to clump them up very tightly to make sure that one rocket hits multiples,
allowing US planes to stay in the air and keep attacking much longer than they would be able to otherwise. And this is a C-17 airlifter, huge aircraft responsible for flying ammunition like Patriot and THAAD missiles into the combat zone. A second satellite taken on March the 1st shows smoke rising from the nearby air defense site. We know this is where another THAAD radar, costing another $500 million, was previously located. And what we can see from this image is that a tent, possibly covering the radar, has been torn apart and badly charred. What we don't know for certain is whether the radar was still underneath that tent when the attack took place. We also cannot tell who owned the system because the US isn't the only country that has them. Saudi Arabia possesses a THAAD battery of its own. But whether or not the radar was hit and whoever owned it, this attack and the one in Jordan clearly show a pattern and speak to an underlying strategy. That strategy is called SEAD, or Suppression of Enemy Air Defenses. It's the same strategy that America and Israel used on Iran in their opening strikes. Rather than go for the highest value enemy targets first, what you do is prioritize the enemy's air defenses. Specifically, you aggressively hunt down and destroy the radar, which allow those defenses to see what is coming and shoot it down. Once the enemy is blinded to your actions, that opens up the way for strikes on everything else. That seems to be what the Iranian forces are attempting to do here. The strikes weren't limited to Jordan or Saudi Arabia either. This is Daul in Qatar, an American outpost that hosts one very important device, an AN/FPS-132 phased array radar. This is a huge system made up of 3 radar dishes, each 40 foot high and placed back to back. Unlike the previous radar systems, which were designed to feed information to individual air defense batteries at individual air bases, this was much more significant. With a range of up to 3,000 miles, this radar can detect and track objects moving through low atmosphere as far afield as northern Russia, southern Africa, and the Indian Ocean, which means it is capable of tracking long-range ballistic missiles across the entirety of the Middle East and some distance beyond as well. That data will be fed into a whole bunch of systems and is likely also fed back to CIA headquarters in the US. In other words, damaging this radar doesn't just hurt America's defenses in the Middle East, it blinds it to what's going on in a significant portion of the planet. And it costs north of $1 billion. But that's exactly what Iranian forces managed to do. Satellite imagery taken on March the 3rd shows damage to one of the 3 radar plates at the site. The image reveals the radar's face badly damaged, with debris scattered across the roof of the main building. Water runoff from firefighting efforts is also visible, showing that the hit was not just kinetic. It involves explosives which started a fire, which burned for long enough that a significant amount of water was required to extinguish it. While it's impossible to tell from an image alone, it seems fair to conclude that the damage caused here is more than superficial. The site is far from destroyed, but its capabilities are likely significantly degraded.
Well, I mean, if you hit the most expensive component and destroy it, then it is actually fucking destroyed. It's like shooting someone in the head. Yeah, the rest of their body may be fine, but you shot the brain, so they're dead.
We can't tell from this image exactly what weapon was used to hit the radar either, but it is well within range of Iran's drones and missiles. Unlike the Jordan strike, this one appears precise. There is no blast damage surrounding the radar, so it is likely a single attack that did the damage. Yet another US base to be hit was 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain. Missiles and drones started falling on the naval base almost the moment the war started, and you may have seen footage of it. No prizes for guessing what was the target of these attacks. Radar once again. This satellite image shows the base before the attacks took place. Notice these two white circular structures up near the top of the image. These are radomes, so called because they're dome-shaped and are designed to cover sensitive radar dishes. What they do is protect the radar from the elements, wind, rain, and in the case of Bahrain, maybe sand, without interfering with the radar signals. Immediately, you can see that both of the radomes are missing from the image. One appears to have been destroyed by a very precise strike, probably the one caught on camera featuring the drone. There is a single blast crater with a blackened patch on the ground, likely carbon left behind by the fire the explosion caused. The second radome was not such a clean kill. There seem to be at least 2 separate impact areas where the dome used to be. As well as destroying the dome, these explosions seem to have seriously damaged nearby buildings as well. While we can't tell from this image alone precisely what was used in this attack, we can make an educated guess that it was 2 more drones. The size of the blast areas appear roughly consistent with the first destroyed dome, which indicates
Air Force cancels the E-7 Wedgetail. Did this just happen? Oh, it happened last summer. We are bullish on space, and we think it has a capability that can be achieved actually faster than the E-7 will deliver at this point. All right, America has now gotten to the level where they keep spinning themselves up about what is cutting edge, what is cutting edge, what is cutting edge, right? And then they never actually achieve it. They're always about to deploy it, but then they never actually achieve it until they go, okay, cancel that shit. It's old now. Let's do the next thing. And then they spend billions of dollars on the next thing, then they never actually achieve it. And then they go, cancel that. Let's do this new thing. And the reality is we're flying B-52s from the 50s. When the war actually starts, we're flying B-52s from the 50s. We're flying F-15s from the 70s. The F-15, I think, came out in 1974, 1973, something like that. U.S. F-15 made in flight. 72. 72. Thing is 54 years old. This is one of our main fighters. Meanwhile, China is spitting out jets like crazy, and they just got into combat. We've covered it at the time when it happened, but Chinese jets got into a dogfight with Chinese jets. Excuse me, Chinese jets got into a dogfight with European and American jets, Pakistan versus India, and the American and European jets got shot down, and they got fucking owned. China's made jet brought down 2 Indian fighter aircraft, U.S. officials say. U.S. officials confirm Pakistan used Chinese J-10 jets against Indian aircraft. Pakistan claimed to have shot down 5. Both officials said Pakistan's F-16 aircraft, made by Lockheed Martin, were not used. So in other words, the Chinese-made jets are the ones they actually used in combat. Reuters reported on Wednesday that at least 3 Indian planes went down, citing local government officials in India. Pakistan's defense minister, Mohammad Asif, told Reuters on Thursday that it was the J-10 that was used to shoot down 3 French-made Rafale planes, which were newly acquired by India. So the idea that, like, oh yeah, guys, the Chinese, the weapons, they're terrible, they're garbage, and it's like we're using a plane from 1972. And by the way, the J-10 is not the most advanced Chinese plane. This is the last generation. Okay, this is the old one. This is their F-16 equivalent. Except it's like a cooler F-16. They have canards. This is the old shit. The Vigorous Dragon, which I think looks badass. Some people say China stole part of the design from Israel, but, you know.
It's an explosive warhead of roughly the same size, 110 pounds for a Shahed. That's way too small to be a ballistic missile, as we can confirm by looking at the bottom of this image to the destroyed warehouses. This is almost certainly the area we saw being hit by the missile in that video a moment ago. 3 large warehouses directly underneath the impact site have been completely demolished, and a 4th has partially collapsed. The 4 warehouses which butt up against them also appear to have suffered damage. though it is difficult to tell how bad it is. At first glance, it appears to be puncture holes from shrapnel, but may well be debris that has been thrown onto the roof. It is also difficult to say what, if anything, was being stored in these warehouses prior to the attack. Images from the ground also provide few clues, simply showing debris scattered around. Though these images do seem to show damage to additional buildings aside from the radar domes and warehouses. What we can say with absolute certainty is that this was a much larger explosion than the ones which destroyed the radomes. Damage to this base is significant because the Fifth Fleet coordinates the activities of all US naval forces in the Middle East, including the units currently attacking Iran. While much of that coordination is probably being done from the deck of the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, damaging the base will inevitably complicate and—
What? The cope is absolutely fucking incredible. Guys, we don't want bases. We have our ships. Ships are cramped. They're inherently far less comfortable, less effective than an actual fixed location. Cope!
Already complicated task. Iran also struck a US command post near Port Shaiba in Kuwait. This is the site before the attack. Here you can see the structure that was hit. Sources on the ground say the building was a standard triple-width trailer with an office interior, basically a temporary building. It was protected from the ground by concrete T-walls that had been placed around it, but had no additional protection from aerial attacks. We think the roof was made of thin corrugated metal, which is good enough to keep the elements out, but is not designed to withstand an explosive attack. The reason is that this structure was intended to be temporary. Those working inside had been relocated from a much larger site further to the south just a week earlier. They were helping coordinate the vital logistics mission that would sustain the American and Israeli bombing campaign that was about to get underway. Dispersing staff to this base was supposed to protect them from Iranian retaliatory strikes once the war started. In fact, it put them in mortal danger. We think Iran spied on those movements taking place by flying FPV-type drones fitted with cameras around this base. We also think they used GPS devices fitted to balloons to help spy out the anti-air defenses, mostly Patriot batteries, that were supposed to be protecting the site. Having established there were people at the site—
I'm sure they were, but that's not how war works. It's like if somebody gets sprayed with a fucking assault rifle and you go, the bulletproof vest is supposed to be protecting their body. And it's like, yeah, of course, it can protect from a shot. But when you're in a fucking battle, even the best defenses are going to get overwhelmed. That's why you don't fight wars, because you take damage and casualties.
How to overcome the defenses, Iran launched its attack around 9 AM local time on March the 1st. This was the result of yet more Shahed drones. Witnesses say the Iranians initially fired missiles at the base, which triggered an alert from the anti-air systems, prompting staff to run to protected bunkers on the site. But this soon cleared with no impacts on the base. Staff left their bunkers and returned to the office, which is when the Shahed struck. Witnesses say there was no warning of this attack. One moment calm, the next smoke and panic. 6 US service personnel died as a result of this impact, and at least a dozen more were wounded. The single deadliest Iranian attack we know of to date. Though we don't know all the facts about this attack yet, it seems likely the lack of a warning played a critical role in the eventual death toll. Shaheds are very good at evading anti-air defenses in this way. That's because US anti-air defenses were designed to spot and shoot down high-flying, fast-moving missiles. They are not very good at spotting low-flying, slow-moving drones. This creates a blind spot that the Shaheds exploit. Their lack of sophistication compared to missiles, in a paradoxical way, makes them far deadlier. So far, we've seen evidence of 2 Iranian strategies running in parallel: strike US radar, thereby hurting its ability to see and stop future attacks, and attack US command posts, thereby reducing its ability to prosecute the war. Both strategies that would be familiar to any military commander. But now we're about to see evidence of a third, less conventional strategy that is proving far more effective than either. This is the oil refinery in Ras Tanura, in Saudi Arabia, the largest and oldest in the region. When it's working, this site is capable of refining 500,000 barrels of oil every single day. It is therefore vital not just to the energy security of the region, but of the entire world. And on March the 2nd, it came under attack by the Iranians. Here's the resulting damage. Scorch marks can clearly be seen on the ground in at least 3 sections of the plant. This is likely carbon residue left behind by oil which set alight after sparks from multiple explosions. And down here, you can see hoses still trying to douse a fire in this section of the plant. The culprit was again thought to be Iranian drones, 2 of them. Unlike the Kuwait attack we just saw, Saudi Arabia says its air defenses were able to spot and shoot down those drones. However, they must have spotted them late, while the aircraft were already flying over the plant. Because what happened next is the burning wreckage of those drones fell into the refinery and caused the fires you're seeing here. As a result of this attack, Ras Tanura had to shut down operations for almost 2 weeks, costing the global economy an estimated 5.5 million barrels of oil. This reveals Iran's third and most effective strategy: disrupt as much as possible global oil production. Tehran knows that, as the world's top consumer of oil, the US is incredibly sensitive to changes in the price. Presidencies can be made or broken by it. Driving up the price of oil heaps political pressure on Trump to end the war early, which is exactly what Iran wants. The longer America and Israel keep bombing, the more damage they will do to the regime. The sooner the regime can get them to quit, the less damage it will suffer, and the easier it will be to cling to power once the shooting stops. Unable to defeat Israel and the US with conventional weapons, the regime has to employ strategies such as this to stand any chance of winning. And so far, it is proving effective. At this point, you may have realized that all the satellite images we have are several weeks out of date, and they all show US bases or Gulf state civilian sites. There's nothing of Israel, and there's a good reason for that. Because satellite imagery is such a powerful tool for understanding this war, access to it is now being restricted. Commercial satellite companies such as Planet Labs, whose images we rely on to bring you analysis like this, have cracked down hard. Initially, they imposed a 4-day delay to publishing images of any US bases in and around the Arabian Gulf. But that has now been extended to 14 days, meaning the images we're receiving in our newsroom today show strikes that took place 2 full weeks ago. The company says this is for operational security, concerns that near real-time imagery could be used as tactical leverage. And that's a fair concern. Iran does operate a limited number of satellites, some with potential military applications, whereas companies like Planet Labs has 200. It makes analyzing conflicts like this significantly harder, not just for journalists, but for academics, researchers, and policymakers. As for Israel, it has a military censor which prohibits publishing data relating to its military installations. Any information, particularly relating to missile or drone impacts, must be submitted to the censor for approval before publication. If the areas concerned are civilian, then this is usually approved quickly. But for military sites, it is very rare for approval to be granted. Again, the reasoning is security. They want to stop information about their most sensitive sites from being used by their enemies to hurt them. That obviously makes sense. But again, it restricts what we're able to show when doing analysis such as this. And it raises a difficult question. In modern war, who gets to control what the world is allowed to see? What we've seen is just how effective Iran's drones have been in this war so far. Many of these strikes have been carried out, in part or entirely, by Shaheeds.
Well, I mean, if people were seeing that the attacks are actually getting through and causing serious damage, then they might be like, hey, maybe this war is a bad idea. Yeah, Evie, I saw that.
$55,000 drones have emerged as Iran's most destructive weapon, precisely because they lack sophistication.
No. I know I lack sophistication earlier, but now that I hear it from her, I want to correct it. It's not that it's not sophisticated, it's very spare. That's the real correct way of describing it. It's spare, meaning that it is stripped down. It has the warhead, it has a simple fuselage, it has its, targeting system, and it has a low expense engine. And that creates a low-cost precision weapon that checks all the boxes that the Iranians need. Low-cost, long-range, effective, precision weapon. And that is sophisticated in its own way. It's a simple solution for a sophisticated problem. So if anything, it shows extreme sophistication on part of the Iranians because it is the height of engineering. The height of engineering, what makes engineers engineers, is that they can maximize what they get from scarce resources. You're not an engineer if you build a pyramid, okay? A pyramid is the maximum amount of rocks to make a bigger pile of rocks. Engineers make suspension bridges. Engineers make trusses. That's engineering, okay? Engineers make Shahed drones. If you're spending $1 trillion for a rocket, it's easy because you have unlimited resources. It's maximizing what you have that makes you an engineer. Anyone can build a bridge that stands. It takes an engineer to build a bridge that barely stands. You know what you call a society with a bunch of bridges that barely stand? You call that a developed country. That is what technology is. Technology is building shit and understanding it so well that you could use the least amount of resources to accomplish your task. Because when you use the least amount of resources to accomplish that task, it means you have more resources to accomplish more tasks. And the more tasks you accomplish, the better everyone's life gets. That's what developed is. So the Iranians are showing extreme sophistication and adaptability. It is the Americans that are unsophisticated.
Simplicity allows Iran to produce them in large numbers, tens of thousands by some estimates, and deploy them flexibly. They can be built, stored, and launched from almost anywhere, making them difficult to track and destroy. On top of which, air defenses are not designed to spot them, and even if they do, have to resort to shooting them down with a much more expensive missile. Based on the evidence we've seen, countering these drones effectively is now one of the biggest challenges facing the US and Israel. Iran is using them as part of a three-pronged strategy. First, targeting radar to blind air defenses. Second, striking headquarters and logistics to disrupt command and control. And third, hitting energy infrastructure, including gas plants and the Strait of Hormuz, to pressure the global economy. Aside from strikes at Ras Tanura, Iran has also shut down Qatar's liquefied natural gas plants and blocked the vital Strait of Hormuz. Oil from 5 of the world's top 10 producers passes through the strait. So these disruptions drive up prices, strain the global economy, and increase pressure on Trump to end the fighting, not just from his own people, but from leaders worldwide fearing a recession. That's Iran's trump card, and so far, it appears to be working.
We made this episode because you guys asked for it.
All right, everybody. With that, I'm going to call it. Thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals for supporting the stream. We will be back tomorrow. I want to make sure that everybody goes and listens to the reaction podcast with Hassan. We're going to raid into it. We're going to raid into the reaction podcast on YouTube. Go listen to it, because this podcast, I think, first of all, I think it's incredibly good. And secondly, and most importantly, when a new channel is created, you engaging with it, you supporting it, helps it get boosted even more in the algorithm because it's fresh. And YouTube likes fresh content that does well. So please go in there, check it out, hit the subscribe button, listen to us on YouTube, and more importantly, and this is even more important, join the fucking Patreon so we can pay our editor. Oh, fuck me. Please consider supporting the Patreon. This is the even more important thing. We're going to be having a lot of premium content. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Watch it all. Hit the subscribe to the Patreon. And of course, I will see all of you very soon. Thank you so much. Hassan boosts his episode. I am going to yell at him to do that. All right, everybody. Stay safe. Solidarity forever. I don't think he did. I'll talk to him about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you soon. Go listen to the podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Join the Patreon. Solidarity forever, my friends. I'll see you all soon. Peace out. Free Palestine.